Trigger warning, this episode contains mentions of self-harm, murder, abuse, blackmail, cheating, and slapping.
Stop it. Stop it.
It's called Smut. Give me smut and nothing but a dirty novel I can't shut if it's uncut and
Our warm-up thing for season 1 was Daniel Day-Lewis. Last season, we kind of like said a bunch of shit. And today we just kept going like, okay, we need to test the levels. So I just kept singing, if I could turn back time. But I wouldn't change it every time. Like,
no, but if
we're
going to do Yatspan 1 week.
Yatspan. That's going to be next time.
Yesterday was Thanksgiving. We had a little Friendsgiving, and one of our friends, our friend Ben, who was a guest for the Christmas episode, started doing his Werner Herzog impression.
I don't know how it started.
I don't know how it started.
I don't know Werner Herzog.
He's a famous director, and he talks like this, and he is an older. I don't know if he's German. Is he Austrian? German?
I think he's German.
Herzog is giving.
And then we just started saying the most random shit in that thing, and then like he's obsessed with Jessica's cat, so he goes, "Come to me, baby cat." Like,
so creepy.
How is she so fluffy?
Why is
she
the fluffy princess?
Why so fluff? Can she even handle how fluff she is?
I was like tearing
have goosebumps
up.
in the bad way.
I was
bad gooses.
crying, laughing.
Yeah, it was.
The other thing we said, and I don't remember how this got started either, but was Dick in the Woods.
Well, it was. So we were.
He was a dick. He was acting like a dick.
Yeah, we were watching a movie, and it was kind of like it was a very bad movie, and there was this dude who was an asshole, and he was in the woods, and Keenan was like, "Yeah, that's the dick. He's just a dick, and he's in the woods." And then in the Werner Herzog voice, Ben kept going, "There must be a dick in the woods at all times."
Well, and we were like singing different songs with it. So I sang "Man in the Box." Was like, "I'm a dick in the woods."
My favorite one was "Despite all the rage, it's still just a dick in the woods."
It was.
She's
so
a dick.
In the woods. Hey, speaking of dicks in the woods, welcome to Femmes Reading Filth. Ooh,
That one was pretty.
that one was sassy and sexy.
I went low.
I went normal.
Yep.
Hey, welcome to Femmes Reading Filth. I'm Emily Brugen.
I'm Jess.
And we got Julie Merica
It's me.
back for episode 2.
Yeah.
Femdom.
Femdom.
That sounds harder than I want it to, but it's not.
Female dominant.
Female domination. We landed here
Of the
after.
world.
Yes.
Yeah. I cut out some of that stuff in the previous episode of how we got to that.
We landed there after much conversation
Yes.
with you, as I remember. And we all just kind of decided, like, this will be a challenge, but it'll be fun. And I think it will be. I think it'll be
excited.
interesting. Yeah.
This one, I mean, I'm not saying it broke me, but I had a rough time with this one. Like finding a book that I felt was good enough for it, because a lot of it, when you search femdom, it's like a porn without plot, which again is fine, but like
doesn't give you a lot to talk about.
I need to talk about this other than sex.
Yeah.
And then
No, that's fair. I do understand that as its own. That's why I was like, this sounds harsh. Like, it sounds so sexy to me, where I'm like, yeah, that's not what we're going for. We're going for the story behind why we want that. The psychology.
First, I want to hear. I want to hear from Julie. A, what you think it means. B, why you want to hear about it.
I mean, I think in my heart of hearts, it means a woman who is asserting dominance in either type of relationship, whether hetero, normative or not, and like just asserting dominance in the bedroom, but also in a way that is not only less approved of in societal standards, but also like you wouldn't expect in a sexual stance. Like, to me, I'm like, it's always a little bit, not always kinky, because I don't want to, I keep thinking of like stepping on balls, but I don't want that. That's
I mean,
not
my
heart.
fic does have stepping on balls in it.
See, that stuff is a little brutal and violent for my taste, but I understand the psychology behind, like, to me, it's all about the psychology behind why I would want to feel emasculated in a society that puts so much on masculinity, to take those standards that we're so held onto and to show how deeply toxic they are through uprooting them through kicking you in the balls, or
some intimacy,
through a stiletto to the neck, or whatever.
oh my
yeah. So like, I was put in charge of doing research about this because I felt pretty confident out the gate with my ability to talk about this
You give me Dom
topic.
vibes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been told that. I'm definitely more on the switchy side.
I get that too.
Yeah.
You are cool about it. Most
Yeah.
Doms are quiet about it.
Most Doms are quiet about it, and I tend to I just adapt. I adapt to the partner, and I adapt to the situation. Like, I want to, I think that's, true switchy people. It's I want to give my partner what my partner wants.
Yeah.
And if that means, that, we want gentle loveliness, we can do gentle loveliness. But if
Yes.
that means that you need me to step on you, fine.
Yeah. Sometimes you need
I
to be
get that.
thrown around, and sometimes you need a little love making.
Exactly.
I need a snuggle
Fun
and a
dopey.
cuddle, and I want to remember that the world is soft.
Yeah.
That's aftercare for
We
you.
do. I do want to say, because you did mention last episode that you like fluffier stuff. You
I do.
have this.
No,
The
we don't
fic,
have it.
The fic that I found, I think does have it.
Oh.
I think it's very sweet. But
Okay.
there's also a lot of kinky violent
That's
sex
my
in it.
vibe.
There's
I love
no
it.
fluff in mine. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
I
Just
like
so
a
you know.
juxtaposition because honestly, I think it's the ADHD in me, or the fact that I have FOMO, severe FOMO. I don't want to miss out. I want a little soft sometimes. I do like a in front of the
Yeah.
fireplace love
Yeah.
making, and sometimes there is a place for that. I'm too tired to be roughed up, but
Yeah.
then there's other times when I'm I need to take out some aggression, but I'm also very horny.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should define our terms a little bit,
Please.
about what we're talking about. So femdom refers to a woman dominating, and that could be dominating anyone of any gender. It can also be more performative, she could be just doing dominant dirty talk. There doesn't even necessarily need to be a physical aspect. There's financial domination. There's a lot of ways to practice that.
That's the one I'm looking for.
So yeah, it's a woman who physically, psychologically dominates their partner in a sadomasochistic encounter. There's a difference between, and I talked to my friend who gave me permission to talk about this, who is a dominatrix. I asked her a couple questions for this podcast. And she was sure to draw the distinction between a dominatrix as a term and femdom, or just being a dominant in the bedroom. And she was like, dominatrix is my job.
Right.
I am a dominatrix. I am helping a client fulfill what they have asked me to fulfill.
Okay.
And it is a fulfilling and fun job that I like, but end of the day, it is emotionally draining, and I am doing
It's a service.
I'm doing sex work. I am doing
It's a
client-based
service. Yeah.
work. But she was like, when I'm in the scene just with partners that we're playing together, that's an entirely different ball game.
Noted. So
Yeah.
dominatrix is typically only the gig.
If someone calls themselves a dominatrix, typically what that means is they are being paid for their services,
Got
or
it.
they are in some way, this is their occupation.
So when we're saying femdom, that's more fem dominant, not fem dominatrix.
When we're saying femdom, that's more of a catch-all term for a woman who dominates,
but
then
not
with
someone for a job.
not necessarily.
Okay.
So
I think-
dominatrix, if someone says I am a dominatrix, that means that generally it could, obviously there's a lot of
each
variation
their own
between
kind of stuff.
but more or less dominatrix is this is what I do for work. Whereas if someone is just I like to be dominant in the bedroom, they might call themselves a dominant, they might call themselves a dom. DOMME tends to be the female way of
okay.
saying that. But the dominatrix term tends to be more occupational.
This is going to sound ignorant, but I need to tell you because I feel like a confession is about to occur for me.
Yes.
My dominatrix vision, when I picture a dominatrix, is Catwoman, all leather, in a ball gag. You know what I mean? And I know that's ignorant as shit. And the whip or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The traditional costumey, what you'd see at a sex shop.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's because I've only seen it in TV and whatever, demonstrated.
Yeah.
And these things, and obviously there's other things to it, but the whipping to me seems like a common theme in a lot of these that is not ignorant.
But
and
it's what you've visually been shown.
Right.
Well, and
So-
so that is definitely, I think, what is shown a lot of the times in the media for a dominatrix, because that is the more tintillating, that is the more scandalous visual. But dominating someone can look like you're the dominatrix could be in her sweatpants,
Right.
being you don't deserve for me to dress up for you. Why would I
subtle.
I get into my spandex
For you.
for you?
It's a subtle power switch.
There, it can be really and when you're looking at it from a work perspective, it is, what does my client want? And that doesn't necessarily have to be like whips and chains. That could be, I mean, we'll get into some examples in my story.
Cool.
But there's a lot of, and that's why I really like, so BDSM stands for bondage, dominance, and
Sexual masochism.
sadomasochism or sex.
Close.
Yeah, basically. But like, those are not necessarily like, you don't have to have bondage for it to be BDSM. And there are a bunch of other ways to do it, even though bondage.
Hey, Julie got some ideas.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay.
I'm like, I thought you had to beat some ass for it to be sadomasochistic.
No,
had
it can
to
be
like really dark.
It can be entirely psychological.
Oh, that's fair.
You can fuck somebody up without touching them.
Yeah, that's worse.
And that can be what they prefer. Like, that can be the
called
kink.
8th grade right there.
Yeah, I'm like, this is giving middle
Hey.
school in all the worst ways.
But it is important to say, like, so the important distinction here that I always want to, like, when we talk about kink and we talk about BDSM is consent. And so one of the things that I always encourage if someone's looking to explore this in any way is A, get an understanding of like what you like and what your partner likes and how to do it safely. Mm-hmm. You should not be fucking around with floggers without watching some YouTube tutorials or taking some classes.
Yeah.
Like, you could hurt somebody. But then the other really, really important thing is consent. So like safe words, which is something that most people know about what safe words are. But I always recommend the stoplight system.
I have that for parties.
Yeah.
Safe
like-
words or stoplight system?
Both.
Well, when it's like time to get out.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, we got to start wrapping this up, or it's time to fucking go.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I know that we've talked about it before on the podcast, but just like a refresher for the audience is like, typically a stoplight system, a very simplified version of it is like a dom would be checking in with their partner in the middle of an intense scene. It would be like, give me a color. And if they're A+, cool, we're happy, it's green. We need to slow down a little bit, but I don't want to stop, is yellow. I'm fucked up. We need to stop immediately and commence with aftercare. That's red.
Yeah.
And then people will sometimes even build in other colors that mean other things.
Chartreuse.
Chartreuse for I need some water or whatever.
I need a salad. I am hungry.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a hoagie?
Yeah. Like, I would like a sandwich now.
I want a hoagie so bad.
But yeah, it's really important because like in these situations, I feel like for me, the point of kink is to safely experience something that you wouldn't necessarily always be safe experiencing.
Yeah, that's the comfort level, right?
Yeah.
To me, I think that's what really makes it sexy. It's I'm comfortable enough to you to shed all of what society expects from me, but also what I expect from me, what sex expects from me or whatever. And I think that's the really like riveting part. I think that's why people have feet fetishes, because it's real intimate to look at the bottom of a, like, usually you don't see the bottom of people's feet unless they're kicking up in your house or like, like those are intimate parts. Obviously people take those kinks to different levels, but I think that that's really all it is. We're all seeking out like an intimacy that can't be found through other people, but we're like trying to find it and fulfill it sexually. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. And that's what I love about it. And that's why I think I tend to read books that have an element of this, because it does lend itself to like we're two people who thought we were both kind of weird, and I found another person that likes the thing that I like that I never thought anybody else would like.
Yeah, it's
I kind of
special.
like those
Yeah.
ideas too, but like they go, obviously the shit I read is a lot darker. So I was trying to say like, oh yes, I've read crazy books where I'm like, oh, this is happening, but they both like it and they both
Yeah.
fall in love.
It's fine. There's an asterisk
They
on every
hate
asterisk.
each other, but they
It's
fall in
fine.
love anyways.
Yeah. So like my friend who I asked her, why do you think people like doing BDSM? And she was like, there's a lot of endorphins involved.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like the power that I feel when I am like doing what my client wants, or when I'm flogging my partner. It releases endorphins. It releases good chemicals, just like they're getting good chemicals by being flogged. It's doing a lot for both of us. And she also was like, there are people that get into the scene for the wrong reasons, who are people who want to do it to be abusive or to be fucked up.
Right.
But that's also why people in the kink space have tried to set up these parameters of like, what are our safe words? What are our trainings? Like trying to build up a community so it's easier to then, when someone is entering it for the wrong reason, it's easier to pick them out and go, hey, fuck you. We're not.
Immediately, no.
Yeah, immediate. And if you were ever on Tinder and you see a man who says Dom in his profile or whatever, grain of salt.
Question everything.
Grain of salt there, because most people that I know, at least in that space, it is we've gotten to know each other, we're compatible. Hey, by the way, I just want to let you know. Yeah. This might be something I'm interested in. Like the people that are putting out there.
Friendly like sites though, that's going to be a thing.
That's going to be a thing. Tinder, but if you're on Tinder and some dude is like, I'm a dom, and like, are you?
That means he doesn't want to pay, and he also wants to talk shit to you.
I feel like they usually have like some sort of muscle car. And this is not to say that like people being upfront about themselves on social is fine, but that has typically been a red flag for me. It's just a reason to ask more questions. Like if someone is coming to you and saying, I'm a dom, you need to ask some follow-up questions to make sure that they're actually doing it for the right reasons and that they're a good person. Like, what's your social security?
Yeah. What do you do?
What's your mother's maiden name?
What's your credit score?
And then to wrap up the interview portion of this, I just want to shout out because she gave some good resources if anybody wants to learn more. Because I was like, is there anything like if anybody...
No, I don't. Hold on. Let me grab my paper.
Well, because I said to her, I was like, if anybody listening has no experience with this at all, what would you want them to know?
Yeah.
And she said, it's so hard to pinpoint one or two things, but if you want to know more, the book Playing Well with Others by Lee Harrington and Milena Williams is recommended.
And also a casual read for the train. Nobody would know.
No one would know. No one would know. And then the last thing she just said is like, please don't judge us. It's like what me and my friends like, but it's not for everybody, and that's okay. But also that doesn't mean that just because you're into this, that something is fucked up or that you are fucked up in any way. You can be a perfectly normal, well-adjusted person and like aspects of BDSM.
Yeah.
Replace any of the word it in there with anything that you love that doesn't harm other people in a non-consensual way. And I think you really nailed it on the head there with that quote, because I was like, damn, that's preaching.
Yep.
That is choir.
And there is a stigma. There's a big stigma behind it, especially for women on the dominant side.
To be fair, we have come a long way, and I hate to be that girly, but I like think about how awkward my parents are with like my mom and stuff with just porn in general and like her takes on stuff, and I look at the media that they were consuming at that time versus what we consume now. We've come a long way. I'm not saying we've come far enough, but the fact that we can have these conversations openly, somebody
more open,
who's very okay with being on the record in a pop, you know what I mean? Like that shit to me, and we're having this conversation, real talk, 3 different perspectives on it, and all like mine is probably the least woke about it, right? But I'm still here with like, oh yeah, no, I'm interested.
Yeah.
I'll beat a man to death. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We like learning. We like
learning. It's educational.
But thank you, Dom friend of the pod.
Yeah, thanks, Dom
thank
friend.
you, Dom
Thank
friend.
you. We might call on you again one day. Who knows?
Honestly, yeah, I loved being able to reach out and be like, hey, like I have my own conversations, but give us your opinion. Do you want me to talk about my thing first? I do,
because I went first last time, so you go first.
I go first. Okay, this is like a marathon session for me.
In, Julie.
I'm on a roll. Okay, so I picked this. I picked this fandom fully knowing that neither of you have seen this show. I picked a story from the show Succession.
Okay.
Which
also,
neither of you
I told you that I would do homework, and I immediately heard the music and said, no,
I understand. You're fine.
I like the theme song for Succession.
Oh, it's so good, but I immediately knew I was going to be like, this is I watched suck my life away from me.
I watched the first episode of it.
It's wonderful.
And I'm not in the mood to watch this. I know I'll love it.
I did watch the first episode too.
Yeah, it's good.
And I liked it. I really did. But I was like, no, already there's so many characters that I know I need to hold on to this.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite shows. Cool. I've rewatched it many times. It had the series finale was this year. So it's fully out if you want to give it a watch. You don't have to deal with waiting for things now, which is a big pet peeve of mine.
A huge pet peeve in these modern times.
Absolutely.
Truly, like one of my biggest.
Yeah, it's I don't like it, especially with like recently with the writer's strike, where there were some shows where I'm like, I don't know, is it going to come back? I'm not sure. But Succession like got in under the wire, and there's just some wonderful acting, some wonderful writing. A lot of the people in the writers room are playwrights originally, and you can tell in the way that it's structured and the way that they shoot it like multicam a lot of the time. So even though it looks like a more traditional show, they do full coverage, so the actors are acting like they would in a play, and I think you can really tell. It's also just brutally sad and also brutally funny. And
Like a play.
like a play. And there is a relationship in
Disney
there.
movie.
So there is a pairing in this show that is canonically femdommy. And so I did go against my usual rule of not picking a fandom that has the thing, because it is one of my favorite pairings and it's just too good. So we're doing it. And that is Roman and Jerry from Succession.
Okay.
And since I know neither of you have seen it, I'm going to tell you the story of this pairing in the show, and then I'm going to tell you the fanfic.
Thank you.
Cool?
Yes.
All right.
Appreciate the backstory.
I got you.
For the uneducated, and also to the 4 listeners who haven't seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I'm
they'll
sure
enjoy
the rest
it.
of them have, but
I'm
the 4
sure.
of them who haven't will appreciate that.
Wait, hey,
Just in
we
case.
put timestamps on this. They can
Yeah, skip
shoot
ahead.
Listen,
it.
I understand that not everyone's bag is HBO dramedies, so here I am to help out. Okay, so Succession, the family in Succession is loosely based on the Murdochs, and it's basically a very wealthy billionaire family that basically owns the equivalent of Fox News, which is called Waystar Royco in the show. And so they own like a news media with like studios, with a
Conglomerate.
news channel. Yes, a whole big old thing. The dad is Logan Roy. He is very angry, very yelly, very emotionally, and sometimes physically abusive to his kids. And the whole point of the show is it's called Succession because he's old and sick and his kids all want the top job. So the whole show is structured around them, their relationship with their dad, and then basically trying to prove themselves to their dad so that they can take over the company one day. Which doesn't sound very fun, but I promise it's fun.
What a wild
I
ride.
promise it is.
We're having a good time while Daddy dies.
Yeah, exactly. Like we kind of love each other, but more so we want money and power. It's fine. So there's 4 Roy siblings. There's Connor, who's the oldest, who basically is kind of his mom is not the other kid's mom, so he's basically kind of cut out of the family. He's played by the guy that was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
He was Cameron.
Yeah, Cameron. And he's great in it. And he kind of is just like the floater character, basically. And he pops in. And then there's Kendall, Siobhan, and Roman. And those are like the main 3 siblings.
Yeah.
And Kendall is the oldest son, except for Connor. Connor is actually the oldest son. But Kendall is the one that is kind of the favorite to be the successor of the company.
Hey, you got there.
But he's real fucked up. And then Shiv is the sister, and she for a while tries to be out of the family, but then she gets sucked in. And then Roman is the other brother. So Roman is the one that we care about for our purposes right now.
Yes.
I'm not completely clear on if Roman is the youngest or the middle child, but he acts like the youngest, so that is what we care about. He is played by Kieran Culkin, who I
Thank you.
adore.
I was just about to look him up.
Yes, Kieran Culkin. He is just immediately known to be the fucked up sibling. He like falls into that stereotype of like he's the one that was overlooked. He was the one that was most abused by his dad. There's like a line in the show where their mom says, "Your dad never saw something small that he didn't want to kick it to see if it would return." Woof. And that's Roman. Like Roman is the one that like his dad was always pitting the siblings against each other, and Roman was the smallest. And so
Capitalism is so toxic.
Capitalism
bro.
is bad.
Yeah.
It really does like foster this type of mentality.
That's also why I think you'll like this show, because it's all about how capitalism is really
Weed out the
It will
weakest
ruin
link.
me.
Yeah.
and how billionaires shouldn't exist by watching the billionaires be fucked up.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of so he's real fucked up and he talks about it. So like he is the quick, witty, says inappropriate shit, like pushes boundaries, like wants to get people angry as a defense mechanism character. Okay. That's this guy. And then Jerry, this character was actually supposed to be a man, but then J. Smith Cameron, she came in and auditioned and they gave her the role of Jerry and made it Jerry with a G for like Geraldine or something. Right. And so she is the house counsel for this huge media conglomerate. She's worked there the kids' entire lives. She's like in her 60s or something like that. She's an older lady. She's a badass. And she's one of those people that like she's made it as far as she has because she has kept quiet and she's been savvy and she's not gotten in anyone's way.
And sorry, did you say all the kids now are like in their 30s and 40s, right?
Kids are all like in their late 30s, early 40s.
Okay.
And so Jerry is actually Siobhan's godmother in the show. Like, she's been around the company forever. And the backstory that you get on her is basically that she is badass company lawyer, has dealt with the sexism, has dealt with the abuse of this world, and has just quietly, slowly outlasted everyone else. So, okay, I'm just going to give you a summary of the relationship. So at the end of season one, these characters don't have a lot to do together, but it doesn't really matter. There's like bits and pieces of flirting. The whole arc of season one is Shiv is getting ready to get married. And the last episode of that season is her wedding. Shiv, short for Siobhan, which is a great shortening of Siobhan, I think.
Also, isn't it Siobhan?
No, it's
Siobhan.
pronounced. Okay.
Right,
But it's written
Siobhan.
Siobhan, right?
It's written Siobhan.
So how are you spelling Shiv?
S-H-I-B. Shib.
Well, in Roman's real name is Romulus.
Wow.
So his dad will call him Romulus.
After the founders of Rome.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah, and then Kendall's name
After
is Kendall.
the sky. Right? No.
No.
Isn't it a
Romulus?
Star? Yeah. No.
Hey, well, Romulus and Remus were the twins that were like nursed by Lupa. There's
There's a constellation, Romulus.
I
and
was
Remus.
Thinking
that.
Yeah,
That's where I was
sorry.
at. I was like,
founder of Rome over here, and none of this matters.
It doesn't matter. Cut it out.
I have to use my degree somehow, you guys.
I'm not gonna lie, it does matter to y'all, which means it will matter to one person somewhere.
That's fair. That's probably true.
Thanks, Julie.
Somebody's tearing their hair out. So Roman's whole thing is he is desperately trying. He knows that his two siblings are better qualified for him than him, but he's still trying to like win his dad's approval constantly. And he gets put in charge of a satellite launch in Japan. And it goes horrible, and he pushes it because he thinks it would be like fun for his sister to have a satellite launched on her wedding day as like a surprise for her, and he pushes it really, really hard.
Rich
and
people
then
have terrible taste.
yes,
I got
exactly.
you a satellite.
I got you a satellite launch, and then at the cocktail hour, Jerry comes up to him and goes, "Did you see this?" And he goes, "What? I haven't been checking my phone." And she goes, "It exploded. What did you do?" And he goes, "I pushed it forward because I thought Shiv would like it." And she goes, "Somebody might die." And it turns out that only one guy lost a finger and everyone else was fine. And so he's like, yeah, win. But then Roman and Jerry are then together for much of the beginning of the second season in Japan because she's the company lawyer and
Fixing his mistake.
trying to fix his mistake.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how they get thrown together at the beginning of the second season. And she starts to kind of become a mentor to him. Like, you just see him starting to text her more and call her more for advice. And it's the way that they talk in this show is very, fuck you, fuck off, I don't give a shit about you. Like, it's very harsh, very mean. That's just how people talk to each other in this show. And this couple is no exception, where it's like, you're such a bitch, but I need your advice. So yeah, so like they start to like come together. And very like antagonistic, spiky banter a lot of the time. And in the third episode, he fucks up really bad. He disappoints his dad really hard. And Jerry recommends their management training program through Waystar, which is like basically what they put all their middle managers through. And he goes, fine, like Jerry said that it would be a good idea. So like for 6 weeks he like goes to Utah to take a management training course and is just in hell the whole time. But he
living like a normal person.
But it is like a running thing where he's dating this beautiful statuesque woman who he cannot have sex with. Like, it's shown for a couple of episodes that like he cannot have an erection. He loses it. It's not enough for him. He's like, and he tries to express it to her. He's like, it needs to be a little bit fucked up, or else I'm not able to. It doesn't do it for me. I can't. My brain will not allow me to do what he calls normie sex. He's like, normie sex isn't a thing that I can do. And she tries to help, but she's like, I don't. After they try to have phone sex because he's been gone for a couple of weeks, and he's like, I'm fucking you, I'm in your pussy, and it is so nice. And she goes, we can't do that, we gotta stop. And then he calls,
To be fair, phone sex
It's
sucks.
hard to do.
Yeah,
It's hard to do well.
And it's hard because you have to have two people who are decent and on board. And that is hard. Even if they're on board, I'm not. If I'm on board, it's
No,
as I've gotten older, it's gotten harder and harder to be both on board at any given time.
Haven't you seen that meme of someone who's like, "Oh yeah, are you naked too?" And it's like a girl like in sweats on her couch, like eating popcorn, be like, "Yeah, this is so hot."
Oh,
like
this
they're
is
so
like
hot.
sexting, but she's like, "Yeah, I'm having a great time."
Yeah, I've
Oh,
sexted
yeah.
with someone the entire time. I'm just like eating dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah. So, but after he can't have phone sex with Tabitha, his girlfriend, he calls Jerry just to talk about like the training program because that has become their thing. And he's like, I came up with an idea for a roller coaster because they have like theme parks too that they have to train at the management training program. And he's like, I came up with an idea for a new ride. Like you should fast track it. And she's like, you're such a fucking idiot. Like I'm not going to fast track your idea for like out of the gate.
Yeah.
You what the fuck is wrong with you? And he's like, I have brilliant ideas. And she goes, you don't have brilliant ideas. You're just like every other man who thinks that they do. Go home, do what every other dude does and masturbate your fucking brilliant ideas out and then come back to me when you actually have something important to talk about. And he goes, well, what if I do? I guess I just will have to do that right now and you just have to like stay there. And he's like half joking and she goes, okay, then hurry up. Go ahead and I'm waiting. Go ahead and do it. And
Wild.
yeah. And he goes, oh, okay. And so he starts masturbating and she starts insulting him on the phone. And that is the kind of fucked up that he needs. He needs someone to basically be like, you are such a disappointment. This is so fucked up of you to be doing this right now. Like, what if your family could see you right now? I love the way it's acted because you can see her because it's like a phone conversation. So she's just sitting on her couch in her pajamas and you can kind of see her like sit up a little straighter and be like,
is this happening?
Oh, okay. And she called and they improvised it a lot. And J. Smith Cameron calls him a slime puppy, which she like made up on the spot. And she gave an interview about it. And she's like, I don't know what I was saying. I don't even know what, because someone was like, what's a slime puppy? And she's like, I have no idea.
You tell me.
It just felt right at the time. So she patented the term slime puppy. And it works for him. And that kicks off this weird sexual relationship that they have together where they start having like special conference calls every once in a while where she basically just insults him and he gets off on it.
Okay.
In the show.
They haven't fucked.
They haven't fucked.
Okay.
They don't fuck in the show.
Okay.
At all.
I like that.
They don't.
They mentally
No,
fuck.
I like the idea of not having anything to do other than talk shit. That's an easy gig.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and you got yours? Oh, fuck yeah. Sign me up. That's a service I'm willing to provide.
She just talks shit. And the thing I love about it from a character perspective.
No cleanup.
Is she's had to deal with this fucking company and this fucking family her entire life. And now she gets to insult.
It's like
Very
cathartic.
Yeah. She gets to
Thanks.
insult the son of her boss and he likes it and he's into it.
She's like, I get to say all this shit out loud now?
Yeah. So then it all kind of they in the show, spoiler alert, they never fuck. They never physically come into contact with each other. The second big sexual thing that they have a couple episodes later, they're all for a meeting like in this kind of remote location. Him and Tabitha try to have sex. It fails. He wanders over to Jerry's room and is like, do you want to have one of our special conference calls right now? And is really awkward. And she goes, that is so inappropriate. How dare you suggest that we should do something like that? And he's like, I'm very, very sorry. Like, don't. And he starts to back off. She goes, no, you're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to say anything. Go into the bathroom and take care of yourself. And she insults him through the door and he jacks off. And they both are really happy about it and it works really well. And this is what the fan fiction writers then have spun off into this pairing.
Okay.
Basically, after this point, he fucks it up. He fucks up the relationship in the show by pushing too hard and starting to send her dick pics
Oh, yeah.
against her explicit
Is
boundaries
this in the
not
real
to.
show?
In the real show.
Okay.
He starts sending her dick pics and she's like, this is not
No, I
What
just
I
want
okay.
talking shit. Have
This-
you not
yeah,
seen this from
I just
my
wanted to talk
perspective?
shit. This is not what I want. I also don't want to see your dick all the time. And he keeps trying to push for more and ultimately ends up using that as leverage to basically, spoiler alert, get out of the company in full. So it's a great arc for her.
Good for her. Yeah.
But the fanfic that I picked basically is like, what if he didn't fuck it up?
Yeah.
And what if they were still having their special conference calls, and then we picked up from there. So this is called Power Corrupts Absolutely by girlyjuicy. It's 11 chapters. It was finished May of 2023, so it's pretty new.
11 chapters.
11 chapters.
Wait, do you think that's small or large?
I just can't finish a freaking PDF I've been trying to finish for 3 weeks. I'm like, and y'all are writing fanfic for free.
Yep. Yeah, somebody
It's
just...
a passion.
I know, I need one.
Yeah.
More passion.
I've heard more passion.
More energy.
More...
This one actually started with the one chapter, and then the author has author's notes. It's like, well, you guys all really like the first chapter, so I'm just going to keep going.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
She had hype people on the way.
Exactly. But it is kind of in that liminal space before he fucks up canonically. So the first chapter is... it's Jerry. We basically, each chapter is a different POV. So the first chapter is Jerry's POV. And it's basically
Jerry Seinfeld, for those of you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. Picture Jerry Seinfeld.
He's narrating.
No, Google a picture of J. Smith Cameras. You have
Blonde hair,
how
glasses.
beautiful and like she's just a gorgeous older woman.
Hot actor.
Yes, a very hot actor. And so it's her POV, and in the show she dates this dude named Lori. And so in this, she is currently dating Lori, and she's thinking about how she needs to stop dating Lori. And she's watching a scandal on the news where a senator from Virginia, some photos leaked of him with a ball gag kneeling, and she is kind of like, oh, well, this is good for us in a work sense because this was a Democrat. And so she's thinking about what she's going to need to do at work tomorrow. But in the back of her mind, she's also like, yeah, you can't be openly kinky or else it could ruin your entire life. That really sucks. Because she's thinking about how she has always kind of been leaned towards those types of things, but she is an ambitious woman who ultimately wants to get ahead, and she's never allowed herself to kind of really fully explore that because it's a huge liability. Especially if you do work as a lawyer, especially if you do work in the public eye for a very high profile company. It's not a great idea to put yourself out there in that way unless you really trust the person.
You heard it here first, folks. Being horny is a liability.
Mm-hmm. So she's in the middle of like thinking about this, watching this news coverage. Roman texts her, 5-alarm fire. Did you see what this motherfucker did? With a bunch of siren emojis. And she's like, yep, I saw. And she tells him that she's thinking about how she could ruin his career if she wanted to with some of the pictures that she has on her phone. And he's like, that's kind of hot, Jerry. I'm kind of into that. And she's like, go to bed. And he goes, I'm going to jerk off first. But yeah, then I'll go to bed. Good night. Hope you sleep well. And it like makes her laugh. Lori from the next room is like, hey, hon, what's going on? And she goes, nothing. And then she thinks more about how her and Lori need to stop being together.
I'm picturing like what's his name, like Ed Begley Jr., like the guy from the Best in Show.
Yeah, like this
tall,
man.
blonde. Hi there.
This man is in the show, but I could not tell you what he looks like. He is a nondescript white man.
He's also from so many things. I know
he's in a million things.
Everything.
I've never known that name without you showing me right now.
You're
so thank
welcome.
you.
We got you. So she goes to the office. The coffee machine is broken. She's pissed off, and on a whim, Roman texts her to flirt, and says, "How dare you not hold the elevator for me, even though you clearly didn't see me?"
So he flirts like I do.
Yes, he says,
So
even though you
wordy.
clearly didn't see me, LOL. This is clearly an excuse to text you.
Emojis.
Yeah, that is truly because they include his text, so that is what it is.
That's funny.
And she goes, you know what? Fuck it. And she says, our coffee machine is broken. You need to get me coffee now.
Yes.
And he goes right away and immediately shows up with coffee the way she likes it. Hot, fresh. We love it. She's like thinking about how she's asked Lori to get her coffee before in that way. And he says, well, say the magic words. Or like
Now I'm
makes
only
it
thinking
wrong.
Fuck off, Ed Begley. Fuck off.
Yeah. And so then she's just thinking more and more about like how quick he is to kind of snap into that mode with her, and how maybe this is a person that has just as much to lose if something like this comes out, but maybe this is a person that wants the same thing she wants when it comes to kinkiness. Like maybe this could be a safe situation that she could explore.
Yeah, because if you both got dirt on each other.
Exactly.
Then
Mutually
the dirt
assured
ain't so
destruction.
dirty. Yeah.
And so she is a busy person. Her day gets away from her at 7:30. She finally like lifts her head up from her computer and she realizes that like she was working and she's missed dinner reservations with Lori.
Ooh.
And she has a million missed calls and texts from him. Very, very condescending. Did you not check your phone? Like, this is very inappropriate behavior. It's just very disrespectful of you to like not have our plans. And she's like, I'm very busy and I've got stuff to do. Why aren't you understanding that? She sees all these condescending text messages from Lori. She sees all these mixed calls. She reads them. She's getting more and more pissed. And then she does something that I've done a million times where she sees that Roman has sent her a meme on Instagram about badass lawyer women. And that just says, thought about you, you mean bitch. And she's like, oh, he thought of me.
The voice of Roman is really good in this.
Yes.
Like, because I know I've seen clips of Kieran Culkin in this show. I haven't watched it, but I've seen clips. And
It's
like,
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she goes, you know what? Fuck it. And she replies to the Instagram lawyer meme and is like, you're going to get dinner with me at the Indian place across from your apartment. And he says, he's trying to be cool and is like, oh, why did your plans fall through? And for once she's like, the inner monologue we hear from her is like, she was too tired. She did not have the energy to mask anymore. And she just says, we're going to get dinner because you're a pathetic creep who will do whatever I say. And he just sends back 4 panty face emojis and says, I'll be there in 15 minutes. Chapter 2, Roman receives these texts.
Chapter 2, Roman.
Chapter
you
2,
know that
Roman.
verse from the Bible?
Chapter 2, Roman's POV. We're in his POV now. He receives those texts. He is stoned in his boxers on the couch and is like, oh my God, the woman of my dreams has texted me and now I have to get it together. And he drinks water and puts on pants. And so he tries to get it together. And now we get his POV where he's thinking about all of his hopes and like maybe this is another kinky person that I've found in the wild and we can be weird together and that could be good. And we get some flashbacks of him during panic Google searches to figure out what was wrong with him. Googling why can't have sex normal.
We all turn into toddlers when we're Googling. Why
Yes.
can't have sex normal?
Why not sex now?
You just need those keywords,
Yeah.
baby.
Normie sex no have why PP.
I want to do sex. And so like they show up to dinner. He's immediately like, oh, she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, but I need to be cool. And they're trying to like just chat. And they kind of are talking about the Virginia Senator Prescott, his scandal. But they're not really like judging him. They're just like, why didn't he cover his tracks better?
Yeah.
They're talking about him in a way of, well, if we were to...
Though, like, you have to know that you're being a little bit oblivious to the reality.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a senator or something.
Or just in general, I ain't sending nudies. Like, that's weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm
like-
weird about it because, and I'm me. I ain't got nothing to
Yeah.
fucking lose. If they were like, comedian Julie Merica has a nude out, and you'd be like, okay, cool.
I also don't condone like the cheating or anything like that. And every time I'm like, yeah, good, they were found out. But like, you know.
Yeah.
He is kind of, they're talking about this Prescott thing and he's starting to kind of be like, well, I'm going to shoot my shot a little bit and he goes, well, isn't that kind of like our phone calls? Aren't our little phone calls kinky? Like, wouldn't you say that? And she is pretending she wants him to say it. So she's like, I don't know what you mean. Please explain further. What are you talking about? Like, tell me. And he knows that she wants him to come out right out and say it, and so he does. And he says, listen, I came out to meet you tonight because you told me to, and I think I like it when you tell me what to do, and I think you like it too. Am I wrong?
I think you like your little slime boy.
Yeah, I think you like when I'm your little slime puppy. And he's really like scared and nervous, and all she does in response to that, there's a circular booth at this restaurant, and she just puts her arm over the booth and takes her fingernails and just drags them down the back of his neck.
Ooh.
Yeah, that gets me.
Yeah. And then the waiter comes and he's mid.
We're all trying
We're all
it now.
doing it. And she's like doing that as the waiter comes.
Uh-oh.
And she
got a
orders.
witness.
Yeah. Well, she keeps her hand there, keeps doing it, starts pulling his hair a little bit, orders for them. And
He'll have the salad.
yeah. Like, he doesn't need to eat. It's fine.
Have a side of fries.
I'll
Go.
have 2 steaks, medium rare, and a side of fries, and then he'll have a water.
He'll have a wedge salad with no vegetables and no dressing,
no
please.
dressing.
So he's like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And he's just trying to like hold on to his sanity. And he makes like a joke. Oh, does this mean we're going to bed together? And she goes, I like how you think that I would let you into my bed. That's interesting. And he goes, I would, where do you want to go to the alley? Do you want to go to my car? Where would you like to go? Because I'm easy. I'll do it. I'll do whatever. And she just digs her nails in more and goes, you need to take a deep breath. And so they kind of reach an agreement over dinner because he is letting her do this and he's clearly enjoying it and she's enjoying it too. And they like get their food, they eat. He's starting to kind of go into a subspacey mode, which I realize we didn't talk about subspace. Mm-hmm. Do you know what subspace is?
No, not really.
Okay. So there's something that happens subspace is what we say when it's the submissive going through it, but there's also top space or dom space. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there are different feelings, but essentially what's happening is you reach a point where your brain has released so many good endorphins that you feel high.
Okay.
Like you get floaty and happy and giggly, and it can be it's not the goal necessarily of kink play, but it is a very nice side effect.
Like runner's highs that they talk about. I've never seen one.
I've never seen one I liked.
I thought it was like a made up thing because I read it in a Dramini Omegaverse.
Oh,
that's how I learned what a subspace was. I was like, wow, like what a magical thing.
You know,
it's a thing. It's a real thing.
My assumption was that it was the space that you need. Like, I have to get into my subspace.
So your role then as the dominant person becomes making sure that your person is okay. And like, even though they're in this lovely floaty place, you are then like their caretaker. You are making sure that they are in that lovely floaty place and able to stay there without being hurt or overwhelmed. And when they then come out of that place, because it's the same as coming down from any really intense drug, you then have to be there for them for the drop. So that's another really important part of subspace, and being a good dominant is aftercare. Yeah. And getting your person water, getting them like a snack. And so getting back to the fic, any questions about any of that?
Nary a one.
Nary one?
No.
It sounds okay?
Yeah.
Nary a Q.
Nary one. And so he kind of quickly falls into kind of a subspace, and he just kind of goes quiet and is just enjoying the sensation of it all. And they get their food
while they're still eating.
Okay. They're just like eating, just not really even saying anything. She's still at various points digging her nails in or pulling his hair and just doing things to keep him grounded, because that's something that this character, like, we know there's a lot of abuse in his life, and pain is a way that he grounds himself. Like, that's part of the character, is kind of a masochism in that way. And so he's into it. He likes it. He enjoys it. It's grounding for him. It's bringing him back into his body. And he's in this kind of floaty, lovely place. And they finish eating. And she tells him that he's being a very good boy. And it gives him the shivers. And he like kind of starts to like kind of surface a little bit. And he makes a joke and is like, do you want to like go back to mine and you can sit on my face?
Yeah, you know, that classic street joke.
Yeah.
What a hilarious, one of my favorite jokes.
I haven't proposed, just like,
fantastic.
maybe if you want to. And so she's like, not everything is about you and your pathetic dick. So first of all, let's just get that straight. Second of all,
honestly, make it a t-shirt.
Right? Not everything is about you.
I'm into Jerry. I like Jerry.
I love Jerry. Jerry can do no wrong in my eyes. And she's like, we're going to sit here quietly until I finish my drink because I have a full martini left. Excuse you. And then when I am ready, and only when I am ready, we will go back to your place and you can prove how badly you want to make me proud of you.
Oh my gosh.
That's a good line.
Yeah. And
you can prove how badly you want to make me proud of you.
It's what I'm doing.
It's a good one.
I'm putting that one away.
Yeah, you prove yourself, and ultimately that means her sitting on his face.
Right.
But it's a reframe. It's a.
I decided.
I'm the one.
Yeah.
I'm the one that is deciding what we do. It is not your place to suggest this. I'm taking care of this situation. And so they do that. She sits on his face. He turns out to be.
So that's what they do.
That's what they do.
Casual face sitting moment.
Yeah. He's not allowed to come. It's about her. It's not about him. He goes to sleep perfectly happy.
Put that on a t-shirt too. Honestly.
And so the next morning, her eyes fly open and she has the thing of like, oh, fuck. I was angry and I did this and I definitely need to break up with my boyfriend now. And so she calls Lori immediately and decides, and Roman is sitting there in bed also. And first of all is like very proud of himself because he made her come twice or whatever. And is like, can I maybe come, please? And she's like, no, you haven't. What you haven't
earned it.
You haven't earned it. You haven't proven yourself. Anyway, I'm gonna break up with my boyfriend real quick. And so she calls Lori and she's like, listen, I know that I shouldn't have continued to be with you as long as I had. Like, this should have been over 2 weeks ago. I just want to let you know, like, we are no longer doing this.
That's kind of harsh.
Yeah, it's like very
what a brutal
straightforward
way to do it.
Yeah, it's just
Hey,
like,
Poor Lori.
I-
Poor Ed Begley Jr.
Ed, how's he gonna cope?
I don't know what Ed's gonna do. Ed's gonna be devastated.
Hey.
And so Roman is thrilled. And because he's like, oh, did this happen? But then she hangs up the phone. She immediately bursts into tears.
Aww.
And she's like, I know, it's like, I'm not sad about the relationship. I'm just sad that this had to happen and I didn't like doing that. And he like kind of is like, do you want me to hug you? And she goes, yeah. And so he hugs her and he's like, do you want breakfast? And she's like, yeah. And they go get breakfast before work. And he still is he's like joking, but also being like, I didn't get to come.
Also, shut the
last
fuck
night.
up, Roman.
I really want to come.
He's not used to it though.
Well,
He's
then
not
go to
used
the fucking
to it.
bathroom and take care of it. I'm not your
Well,
mom.
Julie, funny you say that because Jerry says you have 3 minutes. You can go. It's like they're at like a Starbucks.
Yeah.
So she's like, you can go into that bathroom.
And leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's
Well,
like,
I look at my emails.
well, and she goes, you have
Right.
you have 3 minutes to get this done. If you can't get it done in 3 minutes, fuck you.
I'm understanding the slime puppy now.
The slime
Yeah.
puppy.
Fucking like
And
a dog.
She also says you have to send me a video of your face when you come. Yeah. Which I don't know how I feel
I don't
about
really
that.
want that.
I like it because it is very dominant to me. It's like
It's very
You're
dominant.
gonna look like shit when you have the.
Oh.
Nobody has a good O face. It's a dominant
There
thing
is,
to do.
you're right. There is a humiliation aspect to that
A
for
little
sure.
bit.
Good job,
And
Julie.
it's also kind of hot too. I like it. I like an O face.
I like the noises. I don't know if I would want to see the face.
I like the noises.
Yeah.
I like the face for 2 reasons. One, if I don't like you, it's very funny.
Yeah.
2, if I do like you, it's kind of hot
It's
to see you like
It's
yeah,
very
like,
funny.
Yeah.
you know, like the winky eye and the fucking open mouth. Like I think that's great.
So he does, and she gets the video, and she's kind of thrilled. She's like a little bit like, oh my God, I got him to do that. She's a little bit like, tee. And she's like sad that she can't watch it with the sound on because she sees it
Right.
while he's cleaning up on her phone.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, and like hides it and like saves it for later. And he comes back to the table and they like go to work and it's fine. But this like kicks off their
Did he wash his hand? No, I'm just kidding.
no. he shook her hand.
He
and
left
it was-
that mess in the Starbucks bathroom.
Oh,
Oy vey.
honestly, the character is such that
He would.
maybe,
Probably.
maybe, he's kind of a dick. And so this just like continues their relationship. They go into the office. And Roman is like feeling on top of the world. He's very happy. But then he hears his dad yelling about something, which is not unusual. Yes. Immediate, the happy
boner killer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy, fuzzy, wonderful, warm. Everything is going my way. Feelings immediately dry up because his horribly abusive dad and also his boss is yelling and basically berates the fuck out of Roman. Roman like leaves the office feeling like a piece of shit because trauma.
Yeah.
And essentially texts Jerry and because she texts him and goes, I heard Logan yelling, like, is everything okay? And he goes, oh, you know my dad, but also if you want to slap me around later, it would be nice. Ha ha ha. And she says, I'll think about it. And then that just makes him spiral even more. And so he goes in he's at work, but he's in a very like in his head bad place.
The crisis of a dom. Of being like, I want to talk shit to you, but you need comfort. Like,
you need comfort.
It's like, what do you do? Because I'm like, what is your comfort right now? Is your comfort for me to go, maybe, you little stupid ass slime dick?
Because you don't know, over text message especially, you don't know exactly what the situation is. You don't have a gauge of where he's at emotionally.
Because it's not real communication, because there is a masking aspect of it.
Yeah, you don't have an emotional, you can guess.
That's part of the joy, is like you have a little bit of a character we're playing, and that makes it slippery, because you're not talking about real feelings that got you here, and why you can't get a boner unless your daddy's not yelling at you, and I am. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. Okay, anyway.
So what happens is at like 5:30, he like gets caught up in work. He's still feeling like shit, but it's something to do. She has texted him several times throughout the day. He hasn't answered. And so she shows up to his office at like 5:30 and is like, hey, I wanted to check on you. What's going on? And he tries to joke about it, but he's clearly still in pain. And he's like, my dad just got in my head. It happens sometimes. And he's just really quiet and not himself.
We also know this is a fan fiction because there's a billionaire in an office at 5:30.
I know, right? Yeah.
Boom, baby.
Hey.
Got him.
And so she takes him home and she's like, we need to talk about this. Why did you ask me to slap you around? That didn't sit well with me given the context of it. And he's like, you know that I like pain. It grounds me. I've done it in a toxic way in my past with like self-harm, but sex and that kind of dominance helps me do it in a way that isn't gonna maybe kill me. And so that is what I'm asking for, to help me get back in my head. And she's like, when I hurt you, I just want to let you know that doesn't sit right with me explicitly, because when I'm hurting you and when I'm like, you know, digging my nails into you, it's because I want to. It's not because you're a piece of shit. It's not because of your dad. It's because I've decided that I want to do that to you. And it is not a reflection of you or your character. And I need you to understand that before we go further with this. And she's like, I'm not going to be an outlet for your self-hatred or for your dad's fucked up behavior. And I was like, yes. As a reader, I was like, this is the conversation I was waiting for.
That's great.
Well done, juicy girls.
Yeah.
Whoever, girl juicy.
Yeah. And so he is, the phrase is breathless with love for her in that moment. And is like, okay, so what do you want to do? And they're sitting on the couch. She straddles him and she says that she will slap him like he has been asking for, but only after he says something nice about himself.
Oh God, this is awful.
This is like immersion therapy.
This is what I think is torture.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he says, I have nice hair. And she slaps him across the face.
Oh my Lanta.
I feel
like that's reverse psychology though, because you're gonna like trigger him that every time. Oh, I guess he likes the hitting, so then it's okay.
He asks for hitting.
I'm like, every time he says something nice, you're gonna get a shit beat out of him.
Yeah, but it's the he gets endorphins. He gets
that's a good shit.
Okay, that works. That works.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
all right, Dr. Phil, keep it up.
Yep. And it keeps going and going until it gets very, very sweet and emotional.
I have nice hair.
And he goes, I think I'm a good son.
Aww.
And
that's
she
so
goes,
sad.
And she goes, you are, and slaps him across the face. I think that I could be a good person. I think you could too. And he starts crying and she like checks in and he's like, no, keep going. Slaps him across the face. I think I'm really funny. You're really funny.
Is really
slaps
funny.
him. And it turns into this and they finally reach kind of a natural end, and he's in tears and she holds him and strokes his back and is like, it's okay. That's fine. That's part of what this is. And they just kind of like make out for a while and he feels very safe and loved. Yeah.
That sounds like a thing that we could make a business and charge billionaires a lot of money
Slapping.
to do this.
Oh,
Or,
yeah.
Just that process of like, say something nice about yourself, make it deeper every time, but I'm going to beat the shit out of you in between and you're going to love it, and like be like, this is part of the process, then I'll hold you. And then I'm going to get paid.
Finding a new business venture with this episode.
You know what? Honestly,
I can see it in behind your eyes.
100%. She's like,
You're
dollar
getting
signs,
caught
dollar
up.
signs.
I always wanted to be a therapist, but the system's fucked.
This works.
You know what isn't? These hands.
Nope. And so I'm gonna like start to wrap up a little bit because there's a bunch of other. If you want to read it, I highly recommend. But
It's 11 chapters.
It's 11 chapters, and each chapter is kind of a different kink.
Ooh,
so like
interesting. That's
fun.
yeah. So the next chapter is some cuckolding.
Okay.
So like this weird, annoying guy that's constantly trying to like ask Jerry out, asks her out again. And she's like, I'm going to go have drinks with this guy because I work with him. And I just need to like maintain this relationship, but I'm not interested in him. And Roman is like, oh, where are you going? Where are you getting drinks? And she was like, do you want to watch me flirt with this man? And he goes, maybe I do. And so he sits at the bar and watches her on this date, and he's very, very fascinated by it. And you get his POV where she's so hot and she's so cool, and this man wants her, and she doesn't.
It is sexy to see your person being being wanted.
sexy.
I'm being like,
And
in
he
their
knows,
element.
and
I think
he
that's
knows that
hot.
she's not interested too.
Right.
So there's that
Yeah.
extra thing of
So
like,
it's not jealousy. It's
as long as it's not. Yeah, as long as you trust your person. I love
Yeah.
when people like my person. I'm like, fuck yeah.
it's a little
They're
bit of
cute as fuck.
jealousy. It's a little bit of she's spending this time with this person, but I'm not.
It could
but
be
it's
me.
But it could be me. But it's also a little bit of look at my hot lawyer bitch. Like,
Yeah, sometimes it's
Yeah.
fun to, I don't know, too, because I have like, when you're in the moment, you're in the moment. When you're watching someone have a moment, you're like, that's what we look like when she's flirting with me. Like, it's
Yeah.
fun to be like, you just put yourself in it and you're like, oh yeah, look at us.
That's kind of
I've
cool.
never had that before.
No?
No, but
I love watching I've dated a lot of flirt. I'm a flirt and I date flirty people.
I think I'm the flirt usually, so I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe people have seen me do it, but I've never seen the person.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
maybe.
It
Yeah.
is. It is fun. It's called in the poly world. There's a word. It's called compersion,
Compersion.
which is a slightly different thing, but it's the feeling of like happiness you get when you see your partner happy with other partners. It's like,
Okay.
oh, my partner is like having a good time and laughing.
Yeah.
like
and
that
it's-
I've had, but it's with friends, not with someone flirting with them.
yeah.
though.
It's
Yeah.
just, I think it's just that, just at
Oh, my person's
higher,
like in their
with
element.
higher stakes.
Oh, okay, okay,
And now
okay.
you're
I thought it
getting
was
to
like
watch them perform or whatever, if it is sexual.
Okay,
but
I thought
even-
it was specifically like
A sexual thing.
Yes, or like a flirty thing. Like, oh,
Not
when-
necessarily.
I love when like my partner is happy, or like when they're around their friends. Like seeing someone that I love happy makes me happy.
Yeah, but it can also be a sexual thing.
Okay,
I think
got
Julie
it.
and I are talking about it in both ways.
Got
yeah.
it.
To me, it's much healthier than the traditional, like, which is cheating.
Yeah,
Like,
Cheating
Yeah,
or
yeah,
just
yeah.
like suffering in silence and being
Yeah.
exactly
upset.
or both of us bored or you're not satisfied, at least this way. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it depends on the relationship for sure. I've been in some where I'm like, no, I don't want them anywhere near somebody else's vagina because I don't trust that motherfucker.
right.
But
Other ones.
yeah, there's plenty that I'm like,
ones
oh
are
yeah,
good.
happy to oblige these little whims.
Okay.
Okay, quickly through the other ones. There's some Femdom in chapter 6. That's what chapter 6 is about.
Dog ear it.
Yep. He
Slime
buys
puppy,
her
dog ear it.
slime puppy.
ear it.
They're like walking together, and she sees a necklace in the window at Cartier, and is like, "Oh, that's nice." And he's like, "Do you want me to get it for you?" And she's like, "Oh, okay." And so he buys it for her, and that just sends them down this huge, because he in the fic, it's his POV for this chapter, and he's like, money has always been kind of an abstract concept for me because I've always had it, and my bank account, I've never seen my bank account go down. There's just always money there.
I had a conversation with a friend about how
Yeah.
rich people have a different concept of money because of that. Like,
Yeah.
it's not real. It doesn't exist.
It doesn't
They're
exist.
not actually passing money from hand to hand in the same way we're thinking about, like, oh, that's rent, or that was 2 hours of work.
Yeah.
Or,
Right. It's not like it's not a detriment to
Right.
him to spend money.
once your basic needs are met.
Yeah. And so he's surprised that it turns him on because he's like, I'm not losing. It's not a humiliation thing. I'm not
Right.
losing anything. I'm
This
just
costs
turned
me
on.
nothing.
It costs me nothing. I'm turned on because I'm doing what she wants me to
Yeah.
do. She asked me to buy her a Steinway. I'm buying her a Steinway. She asked me for a townhouse. I'm buying her a townhouse.
I'd be like, can I have a KitchenAid?
You're like, can you give?
I would
can you
like
pay off
a
some of
new
my
air
loans?
fryer,
That's what I
please.
asked for.
And so it basically ends with they keep trying to tell people that they're together, and because Roman is such an asshole that jokes all the time, no one believes them. So, and this happens in the show too, where like the next morning after he jerks off in her bathroom, they're like at the buffet line getting breakfast, and someone goes, did anybody get up to anything fun last night? And he goes, I jerked off in Jerry's bathroom. And everyone goes, ha, you, and like continues on. And that keeps happening, and they keep trying to be like, no, yeah, we've been together for like 4 months. And they're like, ugh, you're such a fucking perverted weirdo. No, you're not fucking Jerry, Roman. And then finally he ends up sending everyone a selfie of him and Jerry over the weekend with her kissing his cheek. And is like, hey, you assholes, we are actually together. This is my woman. Fuck you.
Honestly, though, I would be just flashing back to all the times you told me you jacked off in her bathroom, and I'd be horrified.
Yeah, you would be
know the
replaying.
context.
Yeah.
I'd be like, wait a minute.
100%.
Why has he been jacking off in her bathroom this whole time? Did she know?
Yeah. And then they get married.
Aw,
It's really cute.
Spoiler.
It's really cute.
We dog-eared that
That's
Femdom
incredible.
or could.
Yeah, it's really cute. And they have kinky, wonderful, we just got
Children.
married
Wait, what?
sex.
Yikes.
And they're like, oh, great, we get to do this for the rest of our lives. We're very happy. And that's the
actually so
end. It's really
cute.
We love a cathartic ending.
And
too.
if I could just read his
Go ahead.
his proposal to Jerry, just an excerpt.
Okay.
You make me feel like my pain is worth something. Not just the pain you give me, but the pain I felt before this and the ways it made me into the fucked up trauma gremlin that I am. But more importantly than that, you are brilliant and kind and fierce and powerful, and you can be a hellacious bitch when you want to be, and I love that about you. You are everything I never knew I wanted, and also everything I secretly did know I wanted, but was too chicken shit to look for.
Male
Wow.
characters written by women. More of that.
Yep.
More of that.
Yep.
More
So
of that.
that is
That was really cute.
That is
Yeah.
Jerry and Roman, and one of the many, many, many Jerry and Roman fics out there.
Sorry, the fic was called Jerry and Roman?
No, that's the pairing just
Oh,
in
got it,
general,
sorry.
since I gave you like a show
Yeah.
download as well. But the fic was called Power Corrupts Absolutely.
Got it. Okay.
And yeah. Thoughts?
That was really fun.
I
Thanks.
loved it.
Yeah?
That was fluffy
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. That's the kind I like, where it is consensual. We're healing something deeper. I like the oh, I could be a good person. Yeah, you could be you could become
Yeah.
one. You know,
Yeah.
like I like those little hidden things. I also think this writer is obviously very good to be called upon for more chapters, but also what a great idea to do 11 where you're like, I'm gonna break these up into kinks, because what an easy way to
Yeah.
write.
Yeah.
But also fun.
I
to
could
play.
see these characters doing this one thing. This can be a whole chapter. Like,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And it also
Yeah.
gives you directions
Yes.
as a writer.
It was
'cause you're
great.
like, I don't know what I want to do, but I don't know where to
Yeah.
go. And like, that's a really fun world to be like, I'll just look up the next kink that
Yeah.
could work.
I'll
or
just
that
play
I wanna
around.
write around or whatever, which is fun.
It's time for Emily's story. Here we go.
I'm buckled in.
Are you buckled in?
I have been.
So I
was
had-
buckled in for years and didn't need to be, but now I'm buckled in.
Yeah, this one is not as fluffy. So I actually cheated and I did not do a Kindle Unlimited, but this is available on Kindle and it's only like $5.
Okay.
And I tried to get it at the library, and it was going to be too long of a wait, and I was just like, the time was ticking. I was like, I gotta get a fucking book. So I ended up reading The Sea Witch by Katee Roberts.
Thanks for investing in me.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you.
I have read this one.
I know you have. And here's the thing. I like Katee Roberts. We are a big Katee Robert.
Katie Robert. I believe Robert.
I think it's Robert, but I'm sorry
But
if
this
I'm
is part of her Disney villain series, which I'm a big fan of.
So I have read
love
her
Ursula.
Monster series. I have read, not all of it. I've read some of her Olympus series, so Greek myth. And this is the first Disney villain one I've read.
confirming that it is Katie Robert.
Katee Robert. Okay,
Yes.
sorry. Thank you for telling me. So, but the other ones that I have read by her have usually been the first in the series. This is the, I believe, 5th out of 6. And they are all the Disney villains are standalones, but it's in the same universe. So there is mentions of others, and there's kind of like a set in this book. There's a setup of the next one. There's a mention of the one before, but
You can read them on their own.
You can read them on their own. I got a little annoyed with this book just because I think I'm used to the first in the series where there's a lot more setup, a lot more building of like the space and the character. And so this one was different because I think the character buildup was peppered throughout the book. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've read this entire series, and Ursula and these characters. Is it Ariel as well?
It's Ursula, Zuriel, and Alaric.
Okay, yeah. These are all characters that are in the previous ones in their function, like at the club.
Yes.
And so you know them through other books.
Yeah.
And so that's probably why, because she's been introducing them throughout the series.
But it's still like I contact clues and knowing the Little Mermaid, because this is based off the Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
So I understood who they were, and I'm like, okay, but I didn't have a big like emotional connection to these characters or anything. So I struggled a little with that, but overall liked this book. When I first was looking for Femdom, this came up a lot, and I was like, well, I don't want to buy it. I want to do a Kindle Unlimited because that's my whole shtick. So, long story short, I ended up doing this. But The Sea Witch, Katee Robert, is 288 pages. I forgot to write down when it came out.
I wonder if that makes you a little more critical of it since you spent money on it.
You know what? You'd be surprised at the things I spend money on. So I don't know.
I just mean like psychologically. Like I wonder if it would make a difference of like you're like, oh, this better be good.
I think it's more that
$5.
I know this.
Right.
I know this author. I like this author.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe what gave me a more critical eye to it. Also because it's a lot more. She has a lot more notoriety.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
and that's
this
why
is-
I'm curious too, because I really like this author, and I specifically like her because of the way she handles BDSM
Yeah, I
in a
get
lot
that.
of her books. Like, I don't know, she's never talked about if she has background in it, but she's one of the only like romance authors that I can read BDSM in, because she takes it seriously. There's consent conversation.
yes.
There's like
Okay.
there's elements that, because sometimes I'm reading a romance novel that has BDSM in it, and I can tell that the person writing it has no fucking idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
And Katee Robert is not that type of writer where I'm like, okay, you've at the very least done research and
Okay.
are treating this topic with like some
Respect.
understanding and
Yeah.
respect.
Her writing is great, and it is quite respectful, and she doubles down on like consent and like safe words and all that stuff. So we're
that's
gonna
why
cover
I
that.
can read her.
Yes. I think it was the storyline of it that I got annoyed with, but then it became better. But I wanted it to be set up in the beginning rather than throughout. So Zuriel, known to her friends as Zuri. So I might switch between them, but Zuri is Zuriel, is leaving Olympus on a bus to Carver City against her father's directions.
Yeah, because it's Carver City.
Yeah. She knows 3 things. Never leave Olympus, family loyalty comes first, and never trust the Sea Witch. So she is just she's going
That's all
against.
she's got.
She's
All she knows.
I mean, she like grew up and did math
That's
and
her
English.
list of rules.
Those are like the 3 rules.
She can't read.
Yeah.
But she knows this. Or talk.
She
maybe.
does not know how to read.
Does not know what a fork does.
Her dad is Triton. He is the number 2 of Poseidon on Olympus. It's the big is it 9 or 12 in this book? I don't remember. But the big, all those people, all the gods, quote unquote, rule Olympus. In Carver City, it's a bunch of different territories that are ruled by different bosses, pretty much. Mm-hmm. She's leaving for love of Alaric. And they have like a couple months ago, they spent a few weeks together in Olympus, and it was magical.
Are Disney's plagiarism cops that bad? Are they that brutal that you got to go Alaric?
Yes.
Oh, okay, fair.
I think,
All right.
100%.
maybe
Fair.
a little bit, yeah.
And
No, I mean, that's why I asked. I believe you.
but he was only there for a few weeks in Olympus because he had to go back because he has a debt to Hades, which also like question. Sorry, we're gonna do a little bookmark in this.
Yeah.
Because I've read the Neon God series and all of these play within. But I was like, this isn't the same Hades as.
No.
So there's 2 Hades.
The Disney Villains series came before the mythology series she did, but I do think she is now trying to be like, it's all one world.
Yeah.
But no, I think in this book, when it was this book would have been written before
Yes.
Hades was in her.
Because
lexicon.
in this book, it is Hades is with Meg and Hercules.
Yes, that's actually the one that I own.
Yes.
I have that one physically in because I love that story.
I haven't read that one, but I
yeah.
loved the
I love
Hades.
Hercules.
Hades
loved
dumbs the
Persephone.
fuck out of Hercules, and it's great.
Yes.
Yeah, but in the Neon God series, he is with Persephone. So I was like, I don't know if there's 2 or whatever.
There's 2
so
Hades.
just wanted to have that as a note. So she's in love with Alaric, and she is meeting with Ursa, who is known as the Sea Witch. She is one of the boss, territories. territory bosses, I should say. And she has somehow gotten in touch with Ursa for help because she wants to help Alaric pay off his debt to Hades. So as soon as she gets off the bus, she pulls out her phone and this huge limo pulls up and out steps Ursa. And she is this tall, black, curvy woman. Her locks are black and they ombre to red. She has these blood red lips. She's around she knows that she's around 40 or 50, but she looks a lot younger. And Zuriel, for the record, is 23. And this lady is just exuding power and sex. And she's just and basically Zuriel straight up is I don't trust you. And she's and Ursa's good, because you shouldn't, you're a baby and I am a mob boss. And I'm glad that you have that down. But
she knows 4 things.
Now you know 4 things. But she's I just spit. So sorry. But Ursa's I'm going to help you because I have a soft spot for Alaric. And this is also a triple POV. We hear from Zuriel, Alaric, and Ursa.
Okay.
So
what is she? She's helping her find Alaric?
Ursa is helping Zuri pay off the debt that Alaric owes.
Got it.
So he can be free and they can, quote unquote, be together.
Okay. Why does he owe a debt? Why are you paying a man's debts?
We'll find out.
Okay.
See, this is why I was I want to know more. Mm-hmm. And it starts out, you're just wait, did I miss something? So I get a little,
I always get nervous with those, but I actually really like them when they do fulfill the story for me.
Yeah, but I get nervous that I've missed something.
Same.
Yes.
Same. I'm wait, am I going to pick this back up?
There was 1 or 2 rereads I had to do of certain things, so I got a little meh.
Yeah.
So we learned that Alaric made a deal with Hades in Olympus, but Ursa can't just pay off his debt and have Zuri owe her, because it'll look like she is bribing another territory boss and may, that might make a war and all this stuff. So
yeah, so an
it's
important
gonna
thing
get messy.
if I can clarify, so in this world that this author has built, it's basically a city, and there's zones, and there's mob bosses that control each zone, and one of them is Hades, one of them is Ursa, and then there's others as well.
Triton or whatever.
So
Triton is in Olympus, so
Right.
this is Carver City.
Yeah.
So they're cities next to each other.
Right.
Basically.
But it's basically so it's
it's you don't sell weed in my area.
yes,
this
but
is this is my corner.
But every city has this system
right.
set up.
Right.
So
They're their own little community. I get that.
Right.
Yeah,
So
it's
it would look
it's
bad.
Your own utopia for Ursa. I feel that the politics of it all.
Yeah. So it would look
So-
bad for her to be seen
But why would
interfering
she
in
be doing
Hades'
it?
business.
Why
Yes.
wouldn't she just send
She has a
Uriel?
soft spot for Alaric.
Zuriel.
And so Zuriel is basically going to trade for him. So she offers her mother's necklace, which has a lot of diamonds and jewels, and it's the only thing she has left of her mother.
Oh my god. She really likes this boy.
But
Yeah,
Ursa's
this is automatic red flag,
yeah,
sis.
Ursa's that's not enough. He owes $250,000.
I want the story to be Ursa going, girl, don't do this for no man.
Right?
Let him get a job.
Honestly, I was like, oh, I know Alaric's got to be the bad guy. He's got to be the bad guy, and Ursa's probably going to be the good guy, and blah, blah,
Right.
blah. So that's what I was thinking. Because I did read the back, but I didn't pay attention. So she's like, that's not enough, but you're a virgin, right?
Ooh.
And she's like, yeah.
Oh.
She goes, okay, you should just offer your virginity, because that'll really get a high price.
Wow.
And Zuriel's like, well, Alaric's worth it, so I guess I will.
Okay.
So
This is culture shock, I
it's
guess.
a very
for me.
sex positive,
What?
very yes, this is not fluffy, just so you know.
Well, also, how is that sex positive? The girl's a virgin. She's that.
Well, in the world they enter into.
Got it.
So they go to the club called the Underworld, which is where in Hades territory, but Hades territory is also very it's neutral ground. But this is where all the mob bosses and all the other people go to be free and be with all their partners, and there's sex
like a
rooms
kink.
and
Hedonism.
yeah, it's a kink club. And so while they're in the elevator, she's Ursa again is is he worth it? And Zuriel's like, yes.
A great question.
And Ursa's
we should be asking that at every turn.
Yes.
Ursa's like, men rarely are, so I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
And Zia's like, of course, but she notices Ursa's presence seems to be everywhere in this confined space, and she can't help but look down at this woman in this wrap dress and seeing her ample cleavage, and just being like, that's some good cleavage.
And she's like, I'm not gay, but that's some good cleavage.
Yeah, I'm not gay, I'm not straight, I'm wavy, but that's some good cleavage. So Ursa assures her that consent is a big deal, and so even if she wants to auction off her virginity, nothing that she doesn't want will happen. So she can set the limits. It's her, she's auctioning off her thing, so she gets to set the rules, kind of.
It makes me sad that this has to be such a big part of all these stories to make them fun to read. It's such a depressing thing, but I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad
But people
we're
would be
doing it.
people would be asking questions if it wasn't, though.
Well, I want it
Yes.
too. No, because of the status of the world. Like,
Yeah,
of course,
yes.
you can't talk about this without talking about that,
Yeah.
without, or in order to make it a comfortable place for everyone to be. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I get that.
it's
Because
necessary.
I'm also like, what a sad world that I'm like, that is absolutely crucial. Because if you're selling your virginity, who's buying that? A
Exactly.
creep, somebody
Yeah.
who doesn't respect bound or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
You got to be careful.
like unless there's,
It's more world building. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless in this world we actually have access to everything. You know what I mean?
and
Like,
Ursa's
Yeah.
like, I'll help you because I know what it's like to be a woman
Yeah.
in this
In this-
space.
And Ursa's like, hey, you might like some stuff, and that you wouldn't do this because so Ursa's like, hey, you might like some of this stuff. Zuri's like, I don't know, I've never done any of this stuff. Like, would you like any of the stuff that you've listed or that I've seen while we're walking through this club? Because people are just doing sex acts like around, and everyone's having a good time.
and Ariel's going, look at this stuff.
And Ursa's like, well, no, I wouldn't do any of this stuff because I'm more of a dom, not a sub. And Zuri's like, am I a sub? And then that's when Hades walks into the room, and they agree to this auction that's going to happen, and that Hades
Technically,
gets...
they're all subs because they're underwater.
oh, God.
to say no one's underwater.
Oh, wait, this isn't underwater?
No,
This is such a
Oh, I thought this was...
no, they're all walking. No one is a
This
mermaid.
This
No
is
one
the
is.
Earth. But I didn't realize that this was all on land. I have been picturing them swimming around this
Oh
whole
my God.
time. I
No,
need
no,
to
no.
be very clear.
She took a bus to Carver City.
There's-
Well, sea
yeah.
buses.
Yeah. What are you talking
Those classic
about?
sea buses. You're right.
I've seen SpongeBob.
True. I apologize. I apologize.
Nope.
Hades comes in. He's like, cool, I get 20%. The rest goes straight to Zuri. And
Right.
then Hercules comes in. And he's like, Zuriel? And she's like, Hercules? And they kind of hug. And he's like, do you need me to get you out of here? And she's like, no, I'm fine. And so
You're
he gives
also
her,
a main character.
Yeah.
You're a main character.
he gives her like a
We
questionnaire.
understand each other.
Yeah. He gives her a questionnaire to fill out and stating like what you're into and stuff. And he's like, just, like the more you mark, like the higher the price will probably be, because that means like you're willing
Right.
to do more shit. So she's like, oh God. So while this is happening, Ursa and Hades are chatting.
That's wild to auction off your butthole. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's gotta be
And
wild.
also to have never done anything and to just be looking at a list and going, maybe?
Yeah. I guess.
Well, and she knows that Alaric
a lot
is
of question marks for me. I'd be like,
She knows
You
that
feel
Alaric
like it?
works for Hades, and she knows that Alaric works for Hades in the underworld. So she knows, she's like, it's just sex, because he's having just sex with people.
Oh, Alaric is a sex worker
Alaric is a sex worker.
at
there.
the kink club.
Yes.
Got it.
oh, so
Sorry.
this is just...
That was going to come up, but I figured I should say it now. Well, and she doesn't know why he owes a debt either. So she doesn't know.
She don't even...
She don't know
Why would she not ask
Because it was a few
questions?
weeks of bliss. It was a few weeks of
They had a really good
hugs.
time.
We don't
And
ask questions when we're
Jan
having
holding-
fun.
23.
You know, like Sandy and Danny in the beginning of Greece when they were just on the beach having a good time.
Yeah.
that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
but not Danny's version, Sandy's version.
Sandy's version.
They were
Danny-
holding hands,
yeah.
eating ice cream.
So wait, so the way she justifies it to herself is because Alaric has had sex with people in the club
Yes.
for money as his job.
Yes.
She's like, I'm just gonna do the same thing and it's fine.
Pretty much.
Also,
because
wouldn't
it's
it
for
be-
love.
Yeah,
Right.
I was gonna say, wouldn't it be kind of shitty though to be a sex worker your whole life to pay off these debts and you're barely making enough to make what she makes in one?
Yeah.
Your girl made it in
Just
one.
because she's
Yep.
a virgin,
Oh, yeah.
she's very
Well,
valuable.
also she is the daughter of Triton,
Right.
and people will know
Of
that.
course.
So it's like, ooh, high booty.
rich girl.
Yeah.
So we learned that Triton is the reason that Ursa was banished from Olympus. She used to live in Olympus, and she used to work there.
Yeah, he a hater.
And she really wants her revenge on him because he is the reason that she didn't get to say goodbye to her parents when they were dying. And they also used to be friends. And that's kind of where it leaves off. So we're like, oh, there's more of the story.
Right.
Ursa, while she is waiting for Zuri to fill out this whole thing, turns to Hades and goes, I want my usual. And while that she is led into a room where Alaric is kneeling and waiting.
Wait, Ursa's gonna fuck Alaric?
Turns out Alaric also wants revenge on Triton, and he is Triton is the reason that Alaric is now indebted to Hades. And so the two of them have cooked up a plan to ruin the daughter of Triton, because that would in turn ruin him. And Alaric is basically like, fuck, I feel really guilty. But now Ursa's here, and she's a hot lady, and I'm gonna fuck her.
Wait, wasn't it his plan to ruin her life, and now he feels guilty?
It was kind of Ursa's plan, and
But,
then
like,
Alara
he
kind
was
of got
still-
in on it.
Yeah.
Right.
He
but,
was the honeypot.
Oh, but now he's feeling a little bad.
Yes.
He's having
He's having
buyer's
second
remorse.
thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But not when he initially wanted to ruin a man's life through his daughter.
Yeah. He's not.
He ain't smart.
He's not smart or morally upright necessarily.
We never knew that the blonde guy that she was going to give up her voice for was not smart.
Yeah. We hear his inner monologue about how he's like, oh, finally, when this revenge plan kind of like goes off without a hitch, I can get closer to Ursa because I'm starting to feel something for her. But she continuously like puts up her walls. You know, it's kind of like, no, this is just physical.
Yeah.
But also, like, she is a territory leader, and she can't show, the weakness of emotions and blah, 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 blah. So,
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a great look. I mean, maybe if he was like a crony type or whatever, like this is my fuck boy.
Yeah.
but he has been her sub for many a year now.
Right.
So, like, they have kind of developed a, like, relationship, but
Okay.
he's like, I'm ready for more, and she's like, no, I'm not. So anyways, they bang. She straddles him, and he is like, you know, she goes slow, and he's like, yes, but she's like, maybe I should make you beg. But he then comes, even though he wasn't allowed to, and she's like, well, that's fine. We're on the clock anyways. I'm waiting for Zuri to finish this thing.
I'm still picturing this in the ocean. I just pictured his cum floating right across the screen.
I call it number one. The lady said beg, and then he did, but afterwards they have aftercare, and we noticed that, you know, it used to be kind of like she would wrap him up in a blanket and be like, there and leave, and now it's like they actually cuddle on the bed and all this stuff.
Cute.
So the plan is that he's
Ursa's
like,
catching feelings.
and we learned that the plan is that Ursa might try and buy Zuri so that they can both have her for like the week. So we go back to Zuri. Hercules takes her around and is kind of prepping her and giving her the spiel of like what to expect that night at the auction when Alaric walks in. And they're like, oh my God, it's the first time they've seen each other in like months now. And he's like, you don't have to do this. Like, it's okay. And she's like, I can do whatever I want. Like, I know what I'm doing. And then they make out, and then he's like, okay, good luck, and then walks away.
All right.
So then
If anything could make you less straight, that would be it.
I love a good make out and then walk away. What are you talking
Make
about?
out and then walk away.
Well, also
It's
just
a
like offering a pep
established
talk,
thing.
like, hey, you don't have to do this. I want to. All right. Good luck. Bye.
Thanks for helping me.
Yeah. Like not that I gotta say something, but I'm only gonna say it once.
Yep.
They
In
talk-
a weird,
It's like
vague
pretending
way.
to reach for your wallet when you're really like,
Yeah.
I don't want them to say yes to this, but I gotta do the
I
gesture.
got, so I look good.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a throwaway line, it's kind of mentioned that Zuri likes both men and women, and that's kind of like where what we know about her. And so Aurora, who is another worker at the club, is going to be the presenter of Zuri, while Meg is auctioning her off, basically, and she consents to all of this. And they're like, hey, we won't do anything you don't want to do, but like, you know, this will be in real time, so you can say no, and da-da-da-da. And so basically they show her off at the auction, which I call number 2. A little exhibitionism goes a long way, because they keep going harder and harder. So it's like, oh, let's take off her dress. There's her in her underwear. Let's like see what's under her underwear. Let's do this. And the whole time Zuri's like, this is actually really fun. And Aurora's like fucking gorgeous. So like, why not? Like, let's just have fun. And like Malone, who is another
She's gonna
territory
blow her
leader.
own virginity.
She
I
is.
know. She's getting carried away.
Right.
Yeah, another territory leader's like let's up the price so I can have a taste, or like something like that. So there's a lot of like this.
It's
talk.
a bidding war.
It's a bidding war going back
Yeah.
and forth, and finally somebody bids $1 million, and she realizes that she has just been sold to Ursa. And Zuriel, the first thought is, oh my God, my dad is so gonna kill me. She was like, anyone else, she would have been like, that's fine, but specifically the
This particular
Sea Witch,
one.
she's
Right.
like, fuck, my dad's gonna kill me. And Hades is like, he immediately pulls Ursa to the side, and he's like, I don't know what you're playing at, but if you make her uncomfortable or hurt her in any way, I will pull her immediately in this auction. Like, this bet is off and all this stuff. And she's like, got it, understood. The money will be given to Zuri after 7 days. It's like a 7-day long like win. You know what I mean? So she now has to go live with Ursa for 7 days, basically.
It's a lot of virginity.
It's a lot of virginity. And
Like, mine was
God.
like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
and Zuri is
half
immediately
an hour tops.
they're all sitting in Hades' office. It's Ursa, Zuri, and Hades. And Zuri's like, hey, I just want to pay off Alaric's debt, so you can just take that huge cut of whatever he owes you, and then I'll take the rest, and you can also take your 20%. And Hades is like, oh, okay, well, Ursa, I guess you're going home with Alaric and Zuri tonight. Like, have fun, like, whatever. And so Zuri is like, okay, she's super anxious because she's kind of scared, but she's also like excited. Like she's like, what is this feeling I have? Like, I'm worried that Alaric's not gonna want me, but also like Ursa's kind of hot and da 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 da. So
Anxiety and excitement fire up the same spots in your brain.
Yep, they do.
And it just depends on how you frame it. Maybe she had both.
Yeah.
And in the car ride home, she realizes she is definitely attracted to Ursa. So she's like, okay, maybe this wouldn't be terrible. Like for 7 days with this hot lady.
Let's get this penis haircut guy out of here. I'm just trying to fuck the sea witch.
Yeah.
They get to her house and it's all like done up in grays and blues and it's cozy. And Ursa's like, okay, strip. And Zuri's like, well, okay, sure. And she like takes off her dress and she's like, bitch, I said strip. And so she's standing there naked. And can I just say, Zuri will now be naked for the next 2.5 days.
Got it.
Which I don't care for.
I would be cold.
I'd be so cold. Hopefully
I would
the
mainly
heat-
just be cold.
I
Where
would be
there's
so cold.
blankets available. Because I'm
Let's
naked
hope.
a
I
lot,
would need a
but-
robe,
Yeah.
like a fuzzy robe.
Yeah,
or
I just want like
something.
a little bit of a cloth, a loincloth.
Yeah.
I would like a
like
loincloth.
especially to protect my seats and things. I don't want my sweaty ass all over everything.
Yeah. And while she's undressing,
a tarp down
Ursa's
at
like,
least.
Right. Like grandma couch plastic.
I want that plastic.
Plastic couches. Ugh.
Sorry, where was I? She goes, while you're doing this, you can call me mistress. So don't ever call me Ursa. You can call me mistress. And Zuri's like, okay, I'm here for it. And basically, Ursa fingers her, in which I call number 3. Isn't she cold? Because all I could think of
was her
that
being naked.
she was
all the time.
naked. And Ursa's like, oh, girl, you like this. And you must not love Alaric because, you seem to be really enjoying this.
I object to that.
Yeah,
but,
that's not how that works.
but also, no, she doesn't
But,
love
yeah,
Alaric.
yeah,
It's
I mean,
been
that's-
2 weeks.
it's
Which
fair.
I said, that's just rude.
Yeah.
That's rude, Ursa.
Yeah, that's
and then
yes.
Yeah, very
All
rude.
of these observations are valid.
Yes.
And Ursa goes and starts like eating her out, and Zuri's like having a great time. And while that's happening, Alaric shows up and walks in. And Ursa's like, "Oh, hey!" And
Who
like,
invited you here?
She like throws a hi over her shoulder, and Alaric comes up and gives her a kiss. And he's like, "Hey, you can go wash up. You're free." And Zuriel's like, "Wait, what the fuck? You tricked me!" And she starts crying, and is like, "How can you be so kind and so cruel?"
Oh, because she
at the same
didn't know
time?
that they knew each other or like were involved.
Yes, like
Got
it's
it.
basically like, "Hey, you can." Sorry, I'm not telling this right, but like,
No, you're doing fine.
she's like, Ursa was like, "You can drop the act, Alaric." And he's like, "Oh, got it." He like doesn't even look at Zuri and like kisses Ursa and it's like, "Cool, I'm gonna go like fucking wash up."
Yeah, meanwhile, she just did all this to be here
Yeah.
for him.
But
Yeah,
she
that's
keeps
definitely-
that's
saying,
why you don't do shit for nobody.
That's
I
shit
mean,
for
No
nobody.
one.
Yeah.
Not even your parent. No, I'm just kidding.
But like the line of how can you be so kind and cruel at the same time, like kind of keeps coming up with
Yeah.
Zuri in terms like when she's thinking about Ursa or when she's talking to Ursa.
Yeah.
Ursa's like, "Don't worry, you'll have him. I'm basically gonna top both of you for the next 7 days." And Zuri's like, "What does that mean?" And she's like, "But tonight you can choose if you want Alaric to fuck you or you want me." And while she's choosing that, Ursa's like, "I'll finger you while you think about it." And then she gives her more head, which I call number 4, diving in head first.
Amazing. Good work.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. And so afterwards, Ursa tells Alaric to stay in the spare bedroom with Zuri and make sure that he does aftercare. And he's allowed to do anything he wants to her, but they can't fuck because, like, that's her job. So
That's the virginity.
That's the virginity.
thing.
So he's bummed, and because he wants his first free night to be with Ursa. And him and Zuri go to the spare bedroom, and they kind of talk about how much she hates him while he fingers her. And
Why is so much conversation happening during the fingering?
because they're both naked. For the next 2 days, Alaric is also naked.
Okay.
And it's like, oh my Lanta. But we do
It is
hear
coming off like it's a job though. Like it's like somebody's just sitting
Yeah.
here like just doing
like a
beat.
nail
Yeah.
tech.
Yeah.
Like
for me at this point it kind of was. I was like, oh, here's another one. But like
Right.
it's
Giving
supposed to
nail
be
tech.
it's
Yeah.
read as like this in the passion of them, like, I hate you too. Right up there.
Yeah.
But she safe words out. And he immediately is like,
Okay.
thumb, and he like leaves the room. He's like, I'm sorry. And he goes. Her safe word, by the way, is hurricane. His safe word is mermaid. Fun fact.
fun.
The most fun. The most
Great.
fun fact I've had.
But wait, he doesn't do aftercare?
Because she safe
She
worded
doesn't
out.
want
So
to.
and
She
she's
doesn't
like,
want aftercare.
She doesn't want anything.
Okay, good.
And he's bummed.
Because even if someone safe words out, you should still check in about aftercare. Because they might safe word out and need aftercare.
he was basically like, I'm sorry. Are you okay? She's like, I'm good. Leave. Basically. So he was like, gotta go by.
Just
he
checking.
sulks back to Ursa feeling guilty. And she asks, what do you want? And he's like, I think I kind of need a beating. And so he goes over and she picks a flogger, and which I call flogging Molly. And afterwards they have sex, and part of her wants him to stay because she's like, maybe I can finally like be with someone and like let my walls down and cuddle, and like I don't always have to be such a dom. I can be like a partner. And then she's like, no, that's stupid. I can't trust this guy.
It's like when you're hungry making decisions.
Yeah.
You gotta, no.
But also, I understand why she wouldn't trust him, because he just
Sucks.
agreed to trick Zuriel. So it's like, I don't trust you with me
Yeah,
now.
you're a fuckboy.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
You're obviously a fuckboy, and fuckboys can be fixed, but I'm not trying to take on a project right now.
I'm busy.
She's like, actually, I don't trust you. You can either stay in the spare bedroom with Zuriel or you can sleep on the balcony.
Damn.
And Zuriel don't want you.
Well, and he's like, well, fuck, I gotta go back to the bedroom. So Alaric and Zuri talk. When he goes back in, he reveals that her dad, which she had no idea, is into illegal shipments and is bad and has done bad things for Poseidon.
Shipping like drugs and stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
And that he stole, and that
Nobody
Alaric,
watching the original Little Mermaid thought he was a crime-free guy.
how do you get in that palace?
Looks like a seashell.
And a penis. So after that, Alaric stole a shipment because he had some like family back in the Sabine Valley, which is like a different town altogether. And it helped them like get on their feet, and they were going to die if they didn't have money, kind of stuff. And Triton found out about it. So he's like, okay, you can either pay that back in bones. And then he was like, and he would have broken every bone in my body before I could have ever paid that, like, you know, the amount or whatever. Or he could have been exiled. So
If it was over $200, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. It was like $250,000.
Pay it
So,
back in
yeah.
bones as in, I kill you.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sorry, it was pay it back or die. And so instead of that, Alaric went to Hades because he's neutral territory and was like, hey, can I just be in debt to you? Can you like pay off my debt to Triton and I'll just do, you know, for you?
I'll
And
be
he
in
was
debt
like,
to you.
he was
Right.
like, yeah, totally. So he's been there for like 8 years.
That's not super neutral, but yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't die.
Yeah.
You didn't die.
I know, but it's not neutral. It's not the neutral guy's job to be like, yeah, I guess I'll pay this debt and then keep you as a prisoner. That's not
Right.
super neutral of you.
Yeah. And so
That's a side.
Zuri's like, ugh, like I get it, but I'm still pissed at you. And she's like, I wonder why Ursa wants revenge.
Right.
So they go to sleep. The next morning, Zuri is like, look, she like turns over, her and Alaric are in the bed. It's a king size bed, but she's like, there still isn't enough room between us. I don't want to see him, but like, whatever.
I hate him now.
I hate him.
It's giving 23. Girl, make a choice and stick
It's
with it.
giving 23.
23.
It's
And
giving me when I was 23.
she goes, look, I've got 7 days of this, so let's just put this hate aside, and can you just tell me like how to give you a blowjob? And Julie took a sip right at the wrong time. And so she does. And
He like talks her through.
he talks her through it.
To be fair, she probably didn't have Cosmo like I did.
No.
I was like, I don't think I ever asked that question in my life.
He's like, you can't do it wrong. Like, just go. Like, you can just put me in your mouth. And she's like,
She
I
starts
need
blowing
you.
on it, and she's like, well, okay, you can do it wrong.
She's like, I need you to tell me exactly what to do. And we kind of learned that, like, in his time at Hades' house,
Why
like,
would they call it that?
why would they?
I don't know.
In his time at the Underworld, he both played dom and sub, so he's fine. He's
He's
like
a
true
switchy boy.
switch.
Great.
He prefers sub, but he's fine doming like Zuri at this point.
When she needs it.
Yes. And so she does. He comes to fruition, if you will, and then Ursa walks in and is like, "Hey guys, don't dress. Just come. Well, let's go eat breakfast. And so they're sitting there naked. She's making
This poor
food.
girl is like, God, I really wanted to put on some fucking jammies.
Again, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so cold. And while they're eating breakfast, Ursa's like, oh, hold on. And she goes to this cabinet and comes back with these two large tentacle dildos.
Bitch.
And
get
she
the
puts
fuck
one
outta
down.
here.
She puts one down. She's like, oh, hey, Zuri, this is going to be inside you later. And she's like, oh my God, like that's so huge. She goes, oh, that's nothing. Look at this one. And it's bigger. And she goes, this is going inside of Alaric later.
Not over breakfast.
I kind of love that energy.
I'm upset.
Well,
I
because
would be
hey, just so you
exhausted.
know.
it makes her think like, oh, like it's the anticipation of it. It's like building it up for her. That's why.
Yeah.
After breakfast, Ursa's like, are you like into this? Like, I just want to make sure like we still good. And she
Love a
kinda-
check-in.
She talks about how Zuri likes
She just flicks the tentacle. She's like, we still good. And it just vibrates across the table.
and while she's doing that, she starts kind of like touching her, and she's like, are we still good? Are you good? She's like, yeah, I do like this. She goes, oh, you like getting off with your father's enemy? Like you like that? Like and she does, and she like starts to like she gets off, she comes. And Ursa's like, oh, I didn't actually say you could. So it's all right, it's punishment time. And she leans her over like the couch and she spanks her, and she's like, oh, Alara, can you sit here and just like eat her out while like I spank her? And they're like, yeah, this is great. And after that, like everyone's happy. Everyone's like, well, that was fun. And Ursa's like, okay, they're all sitting on the couch, on the plastic couch. And she goes, hey, call your dad.
This is how I imagine rich kids
This
live.
is so how rich kids live.
And they're so casual about it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And she's like, what? And she's like, call your dad. He's probably really like worried about you. Like he doesn't know where you are. and Zuri's like,
I'm
oh.
still thinking about what the breakfast was. And
Oh,
she's
it's like
over here
bacon and
calling
eggs.
mom. And calling dad.
Bacon and eggs.
And so she calls her dad. Her dad's like, her dad's like, oh my God, are you okay? She goes, are you a bad guy? Like, do you like dealing drugs and like,
This
do you do bad
girl.
stuff?
23.
And
This
her,
is homeschooling for you.
her dad doesn't do anything. Her dad's just like, Zuri, come back home. Zuri, stop it.
Oh.
And so Ursa, she's like getting really upset, and Ursa takes the phone. She goes, hey, why don't you go have sex with Alaric, and I'll talk to your dad. And he goes, there's condoms over there. You go grab one. And she goes, oh, okay.
That's so shady.
And she's kind of just like, she's like a little like, oh, I don't like this. And Alaric starts making out with her to like distract her because she's clearly like upset. And then they end up like having sex, and it's consensual, and it's just what I needed, and it's perfect. And meanwhile, Ursa's sitting next to them, and
On the phone with her
on the
dad.
phone with her dad, being like, "Hey, Triton, fuck you. I'm keeping her for a while."
I picture her little feet kicking like a slumber party conversation. You know what I mean? Like she's laying on her belly, just kicking her
Hey,
feet. Like,
just want to let you
hey,
know.
tried it. Meanwhile, he hears his kid moaning in the background.
Oh.
But after the sex and after the phone call, Ursa tells Alaric to go away so she can chat with Zuri, and she's like, "Hey, like." Because Zuri's like, fuck, I'm such a naive, like, dumbass. And she's like, well, no, you're not. You're
Yeah.
just sheltered. Like, no one is, and she has this whole speech of, like, no one is neither good nor evil. It's more like sins. It's more selfishness. And it's, like, what you do and how you present yourself. And she said, there's no shame in finding freedom the only way you thought you could, which was falling in love with a man that you didn't even know. And she was like, well, if you say so. And she's like, yeah,
That's
okay.
good advice.
It's excellent
Right?
advice, but not for her to go, I believe everything all the time.
Right.
I know. And Ursa thinks about how Triton like exiled her when Poseidon only wanted like 1 second in command. So we learned that Ursa was like high up. She was like a
Right.
level with Triton, and that's kind of all we get for that moment. And then we learn more later. Meanwhile, they go into the playroom, which was another living room that was converted into a playroom. And she puts on a strap on. She makes Zuri ride the tentacle dildo. And she talks about the intricacies of being a dom and the dual nature of punishment and comfort. And it's this whole like inner monologue.
Is I was like, is the Dom part of it doing a TED talk for your
Right.
she has
You
like
got
a little
speech.
microphone on.
Yeah.
You're like, oh God, here she goes
Little
again.
earpiece.
This is how she really humiliates me.
This goes into number 5. I
Good
didn't name
lecture.
all of them because there's a lot of sex scenes in this, but I call it Flog Me Baby because during this whole scene, she has Alaric apologize to Zuri because he still feels guilty about like tricking her. And Zuri like doesn't know if this is real, but Ursa starts to use a cane to like on the bottom of his feet. She's like, Zuri, do you think this is good? And Zuri's like, oh my God, yes, like I'm fine. This is fine. I forgive him. And Alaric's like, I liked it, but
A cane on the bottom of the feet.
it's one of the
is-
most painful apparently.
Yeah.
So after everyone comes to fruition, I like
Anything
saying
on the
it like
bottom.
that.
any sharp pain on the bottom of the foot is fucking tough.
But he's clearly into
I
it.
like to glue Legos to the end of my cane.
Really get in there.
During aftercare, in which they're all just like cuddled on a bed, Zuri starts worrying, and she's like, "After the 7 days, are you guys gonna kill me?"
Oh God.
Which I was just like, girl, you didn't think anything through. And Ursa
This is day 3. She's
Yeah.
asking.
Right.
Ursa and Alaric are both like, oh my god, no. Like,
We're not murderers.
they're
They're
like,
just creeps.
well, Alaric is like, absolutely not. And Ursa's like, well, no, I wouldn't want to start a war or anything. And Alaric's like, no, because we don't want to kill you. She's like,
Right.
yes, that too.
But
Yes,
also, I
that
don't
too.
want to start a war.
But I don't want to start
Think
a war.
politically.
And Zuri goes to take a shower, and Ursa and Alaric talk. And Alaric's like, I think I'm developing feelings, like real feelings for her and you. And like, I want her to stay past the week. And Ursa's like, well, she's not for us. She's too pure. And Alaric's like, let me in. Like, take down your walls. I'm pretty sure I love you. She's like, I have to go. And so she immediately gets out of her house and
Relatable.
goes to Malone's, which is the equivalent of Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty.
Okay.
And she,
Aren't Aurora and Maleficent together? Isn't that one of the books?
not yet. That's a later book.
Okay. I thought I read something about that.
This one sets up that one.
Okay. I haven't read that one.
She goes to Malone's house, and Malone and their relationship is very funny. She's like, we're both territory
Is this
leaders.
pre-Malone or post-Malone?
This is post Malone. No, she goes to Malone's house, and their relationship is like they're both the only. Well, for a long time, they were the only female territory leaders, and so they were like kind of friends, but kind of like, well, we have a working relationship, and we might have to like fuck each other up sometimes, but like mostly like you're a bitch,
Right.
And so she goes over, and Malone's like, what the fuck is your problem? Why are you so weird? And she's like, fine, I care about Zuri, but I don't want her to be damaged by being with me because, like, I am a dark person. Like, Alaric is a dark person. We have done deeds, and this girl is, like, so pure. And Malone was like, get over yourself. People change. Like, people have to change all the time. And if this girl is consenting to this and she wants to be with you and there are real feelings and you're not going to hurt her, like, why not just go for it?
Yeah, but you could argue you are hurting her because she is a malleable, naive. She's not had any good
Yes.
characters. So you could argue that if you're the model and you are dark, then she is pure.
Well, and I've skipped over some of like the feeling talk, but basically like there's been a few things of Ursa being like, I am not a good person.
Right.
Like I'm not a monster, but I am a villain.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, and
I'm
that's
here
been-
for a reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like your dad's is my enemy for a reason. And this is also a throwaway line that we got in the very beginning, but they call her the Sea Witch because she used to drown her enemies
Okay.
Awesome.
in the sea.
I mean, and this whole thing has been taking place underwater.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
all underwater.
Well established
Which
underwater
has been well
setting.
established.
So Ursa's
Makes
like,
the flogging hard.
Oh my
to
it
do.
makes it
Yeah.
so, yeah, those bubbles really. So Ursa's like, you know what, you're
Trying
right.
to swing a cane in water.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's a lot of muscle. Yeah. Ursa's like, that was just the pep talk I needed. Thank you.
Love
So
that.
Zuri wakes up in her bed, and she wakes up to Alaric asleep, spooning her, and Ursa sitting next to her, fully dressed, just on her laptop
Okay,
working.
I was gonna say they're all still butt ass naked.
Oh, those two are still naked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zuri, yeah. Ursa is just always in a like a nice wrap dress, just
Okay.
working. She
I
has
pictured a
like
business suit for some reason, like a
I mean,
pencil skirt,
like a
suit.
pencil skirt situation.
yeah, maybe.
no.
And she has like her glasses on, and she sees that Zuri's up, and they start chatting about what happens after the week. And Ursa's like, I intend to keep you if that's what you would want, but long-term captivity is not my thing. So if you choose to stay, you got to get with the picture. You got to understand that, like, she like reiterates again. She's like, I am a villain. I am not a monster, but I do bad things for myself and for the people I love, and da 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 da. And you need to realize that, because not everything is rainbows and butterflies. And
And so she's saying that she would work for that Zuri would like work for her if she stayed.
no, she's not a hostage. She's not like a captive. Like,
She-
she's not going to
yeah.
keep her. She's like, if you're staying, you have to agree to it.
Commitment
And-
style.
yeah, it's
Right.
commitment, but it's like you got to know that like
You're gonna see some
you're
shit.
going to see some shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then she tells her, Ursa tells Zuri her side of the story with Triton. And basically it's like Poseidon only wanted one second in command. And so I thought that like Triton and I could kind of team up and be like, no, we're better as a team. But Triton didn't have that idea. And so he blackmailed me and tried to kill me. And he gave me the option of exile or death. And so I took exile. But when I did that, I also robbed like 7 of his hidden bank accounts.
Yes.
So I could start over. And
Yes.
she's like, and that's how I became like this big territory boss, but that's why he hates me, because I robbed him blind.
Right.
And
I love Ursa.
Yeah.
So far.
That's great.
Big fan of her.
I wrote, he hates me. Anyways, you got to be okay with me being bad, but also Alaric and I are a package deal. So you got to forgive him if you want to stay, and answer at the end of the week. She's like, oh, I'm still kind of mad. She's like, you got to get the fuck over that, because I was bad too, and why aren't you mad at me? You know? And so...
Yeah.
I mean, but also she has a right to be still
Yes,
mad at
she has a right to be
Alaric.
mad, yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, he put her in this fucking predicament.
And Alaric, meanwhile, has been asleep this whole time, like, behind her, and he just starts to wake up, and his arms tighten. He goes, yes, I do want you to stay. And she's like, this kind of feels nice. Oh, well, I'll think about it. So that night, they go to Underworld.
Okay.
They go to the club in coordinating purple outfits.
Cute.
Because it's kind of a statement that they're all together. And like, while they go to like their usual booth, and like they both, like Alaric and Ursa both like sit on the sides. So Zuri, who's like clearly a little overwhelmed by this whole club, like feels more safe. And like there's like a kind, hand on the bottom, like under the table, because it's like, it's okay. And at one point she ends up sitting on Alaric's lap because he's like keeping her safe kind of thing. And Malone shows up, and Ursa's like, go away, go get us drinks. And so the two subs go up to the bar, and she's like, okay, when they're talking business, like, we can't disturb them, so we're gonna kind of watch our mistress from like afar, and like wait till she sends us over, and it's kind of like a nice anticipation. And Zuri's like, okay, that sounds fun. Like, it's basically like Alaric teaching her how to be a sub, like, but how to specifically be Ursa's sub, but also being like, I can also like dom you at the same time. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to also read all of their POVs.
He's like showing her the ropes, but he's also like kind of ordering her around too at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And after they talk, Ursa's like, come over here. And they go, and it's like, you want to go to like a private room? And they're all like, yeah, let's do it. This is fun. So they go to a room where there's a big stage, and it's private, and it's just, I missed one of the thing. Another one of the scenes was called Strap In. It was another strap-on scene.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry
you
for
for
about
letting
that,
us.
guys.
No, I love
the
that.
titles. The titles are really where the money is.
Yeah,
it's fine.
absolutely.
Just read through just breeze through them.
I'll do it later. Ursa then leads her subs to a private room with a stage, and she's like, put on a show for me. And Alaric's like, got it. And they kind of do the same thing of when she was
the theater
auctioned
kids
off.
come out of them, and they're like, oh, say less.
A duet, you say?
He like strips her and starts to play with her like for his mistress's pleasure. And I call this one, There's No Business Like Show Business.
Hell yeah.
And
Hell yeah.
then Ursa gets all
Jazz
excited. Jazz hands in places you don't want to know. And then he's like, Mistress, I think you should come up and join us. So then the three of them get busy on the stage.
Lovely.
Where they're meant to be. And
I wonder if Katie Roberts saw the movie about the couple that, like, the guy that invented Wonder Woman and the throuple he was in, because when they all have sex for the first time, it's on a stage. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Afterwards, they go out into the public room and hang out. And Zuri's like, wow, I'm so happy. And she's like, I think I'm going to stay at the end of the week. I really like this dynamic. I feel safe. I think I'm like fully okay with Alaric now. And I think I love him. And I think I love Ursa. Oh, and by the way, during that stage scene, Alaric very loudly goes, I love you, to both of them. And they're like, that's really sweet. Thank you. Like, they don't say it back.
I love you so much.
I love you so much. So Zuri's
both
like,
men in both of our stories have been such little nerdy,
kind of himbo-y,
simps.
like, not himbos, but yeah, simps.
They're
is a
just
better
so happy to be there.
Yes. Which I like that energy in general, but there is something like, I just don't buy an I love you during sex. I just don't.
Really?
Like, to me, because I do if we really love each other.
Yeah.
But I don't buy that
During
being
or
like
after?
the first I love you being like, oh, I love you. Like, it's
yeah.
like, to me, I'm like, you're blinded by horny. You're blinded by, you would have said I love you to anybody
What about
stroking your little thing.
afterwards in bed though?
That's cute. That's
yeah.
different.
It's more like during the actor.
To
like
me,
now.
I'm like, yeah, I have this, I'm going to bring it back to hoagies, but I've had the same reaction. I've cried and said, I love you to a hoagie while it's in me. But when it's not in me, I don't think about hoagies so much. That obviously doesn't seem like me. I do think about hoagies a lot, but
I've had some real emotions while eating sandwiches.
Yeah, of
100%.
course.
I think that's the thing. It's like when you're in the moment, I can cry a lot of emotions that are
Yeah,
real. They're
you don't
valid.
trust it as much.
It's just not as it's not
Yeah.
as
It
about
feels
me.
more immediate in the moment than it might
it's
actually
about
be.
this thing I'm giving you, which is fine and also true, and I like to hear that too.
Yeah.
But it's also, to me, I'm like,
A little maybe disingenuous.
A little.
Yeah, I get that.
So we're at the end now. So
Okay.
it's gonna be a bunch of exposition, and I'm not crazy about it. And here we go.
Okay.
Zuri's super happy. She goes to the bathroom and is intercepted by Hercules, who is like, "We don't have a lot of time. Your sisters are here." And she's like, "What?" And he like leads her to Hades' office and is like, I don't even remember what her sisters' names were, but I think one is JL.
Okay.
And they're like, "Quick, we gotta go." And she's like, "Well, why? I'm happy." They're like, "Wait, you look like very like satisfied."
You look like you fucked.
You look like, oh, you fuck? They're like, "Come home." Like, father is mobilizing his men and he is going to come and attack Carver City if you don't come home. And so she's like, "Well, fuck, I got to do this to save Ursa and Alaric." Like, I was going to just be like, "Fuck off, I'm not coming home."
Just
but like,
talk to them. My
this is
God.
bad. So she,
My God.
so
Text message could have solved
Anything.
all of
she
it.
immediately leaves with them to save them. And Ursa and Alaric, meanwhile, send an email.
This could have been an email.
Ursa and Alaric are hanging out, and she's like, she's been in the bathroom a really long time.
She had to Tuesday.
And all that sex. And Alaric realizes that she's gone, and they run around and they look everywhere and they find Hades, and Hades reviews the footage and realizes that Hercules is the one that set all this up. So he's like, "Don't worry, he will be punished." And I was like, damn. And they are just really sad. And they realize they're like, "Oh, she didn't want to stay with us. Like, that's weird. Like, that's really, really upsetting." And so they go home, and Ursa cries.
Aww.
And she lets Alaric into her bed finally, and they sleep together in her bed for the first time because they are comforting each other, because they both realized that they had deeper feelings for Zuri than they realized. I said realized like 5 times. I'm sorry.
We understand.
Zuri and her dad chat. She's at home. She's like, "All right, I'm going to dress for business like Ursa would." She puts on these like nice trousers and like a sea green blouse, and
Great.
her hair is back, and she's like, "Let's do this."
This is how I be a woman.
Yes.
now.
And her dad's like, "Thank God you're here. Go to your room." And she's like, "No, I am a woman. I have my own money now.
I have come.
I have come and have cummed
I
as
have
well."
a tentacle dildo inside of me.
Yes.
Dad.
And
Correctly.
a human penis, Dad. And they have this whole thing back and forth, and she's like, "I love you, Dad, but I need to live my own life. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to go live with Ursa, and I'm going to live with Alaric.
I'm going to go be the fuck toy of your greatest mortal enemy.
I'm going to be
Dad.
the rebel." And he's like,
"Okay, Dad. All
Are
right,
you
Dad."
happy for me?
and he's like, "What makes you think that I won't get you out of there again? What makes you think I won't get you back?" And she's like, "Well, I'll tell Poseidon that you're mobilizing men and you're going to try and start a war with Carver City under his watch, and then you're going to get real fucked. Like, you're going to get murdered by Poseidon basically for trying to do that." And he's like, "You wouldn't do that. You're my daughter."
She's like, "You can pay me in bones, you little bitch."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, you wouldn't do that." And she's like, "Oh, I would." And she's like, "I have like someone on standby to do this." And so he's like, "You know what? You got gumption.
Yeah.
You're my daughter.
Oh, I
Okay, I
I
love
see
you.
that spirit.
He goes, I love you. You go ahead."
Oh, okay.
This whole thing could have been solved. Beep, boop, bop.
Two things. It probably wouldn't happen because dads are stubborn, but I also like the idea of him being like, "I'm not going to outstummer the diplomatist." Like,
So, and that was like all in one night. So both Alaric and Ursa wake up the next day, and they're like,
Yeah.
"You know what? Zuri would not have just left. Like, something is wrong. She's like grown a pair,
Got
and
it.
she would have like
Okay.
come to us and been like, 'I'm leaving.' So we got to go get her
They
back."
like get out of their sads and
Yes.
actually think about the
They're
situation.
like, "Holy shit, we got to go save her." And when they start to mobilize, there's a knock on the door, and it's the security guard, and she's like, "You got something here for you." And it turns out it's Zuri and her businesswoman attire, and she's like, "I love you, and I want to live with you." And they're like, "We love you too."
I
4 days.
I want thruples to start using use. I love use.
I love you.
I love yous, guys.
I love you guys.
I love use, guys.
I love y'all.
And that's The Sea Witch by Katee Roberts.
Excellent.
I loved that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite fluffy, actually.
Really?
I thought that was quite sweet.
I mean, I did try to like make the sex scenes kind of fluffy to talk about. I usually do. By naming them, I try to make them fluffy.
Yeah.
But it was a lot.
You made it more comfortable to listen to. I did not find the fluff. I hated every character along the way.
I
I
mean,
rooted for nobody.
I can find the fluff and hate everyone.
That's
I
also
kind of
fair.
like, I found myself rooting for Ursa. Like, there's only a
Yeah.
few times where I'm like, "You dumb bitch. Like, you're a
Yeah.
strong person. You should know that, like, like this shouldn't scare you, but also like I guess we're all human, blah blah blah. We're not under the sea. We're all human on land.
I do think my love for Ursa helped me
Be
find the
okay
fluff.
with
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
because
I
Zuri
did- that
bothers me
character-
and Alaric bothers me, but then also I'm like, well, they all work together. Like I'm happy that they're all together.
Yeah. And the Zuri and the Alarics are the type of people who do exist and annoy me in real life. So that's not to say that it's not you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not a fault of the author for writing unlikable characters. They're unlikable because I met
it's so
them.
realistic.
Yeah.
I've met these people who don't think twice and will
Yeah.
sacrifice their whole family and their own livelihood for a man they met for 2 weeks.
But I would also argue that is Ariel and Eric from The Little Mermaid.
Oh, 100%.
Like these are those people
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Like very good writing in that regard.
Right. Where it's like, yeah, we don't root for them, but we get it.
We understand.
So Absolute Power Corrupts and Sea Witch. Out of 5 raccoons and trash cans, what would you rate these for
Okay.
the Femdom?
What do you think?
Ooh. For Femdom, I'm giving 5 out of 5 for this.
Yeah, for
I really am.
Absolute
For
Power
Absolute
Corrupts.
Power Corrupts.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, because we love Jerry from Jump Street. Like Jerry, I feel like gives me what I was describing I liked for me personally. This
Yeah.
feels like a personal raccoons and trash cans because what I was seeking was let's flip what's expected from society on our head, and I feel like I got a lot of that.
Yeah.
This one, I'm giving 4 out of 5 for the Dom. No, I'm giving 3. I'm giving 3 raccoons.
Ooh.
Whoa.
And not because of your choice. You did a great job choosing this.
Thank you.
I'm giving it only the 3 because Ursa was a little bitch. If you're going to be a Dom, and you can have feelings, of course. I'm
Yeah.
not saying you can't be a Dom without feelings.
Yeah.
I think that's an important part to talk about. But she was being a little bitch about the wrong things. And to me, I'm like, that's just not Dom energy. That's not giving Dom. It's giving, I'm here because... I don't know. Like, it's giving wishy-washy where I knew where these characters stood the whole time.
Yeah.
I knew where my simp stood in your story for sure with my Zuriel and Zuriak.
Alaric. Zuriak and Zuriel.
Zurich and Jurl.
That's how we get around plagiarism is just put a Z in front of everyone's name.
Yeah.
Zursula.
Feels right.
Zisney.
Disney.
But yeah, so I'm giving it a 3, but not for quality. I was invested. I loved it, but I'm giving for the theme
For
at
the
hand.
Dom energy.
The 3 out of 5 for me feels
Got it.
it.
you.
But not a read on the way you've told because I loved it.
Yeah.
I was here for it.
I appreciate
Both.
that.
I was highly immersed.
Yeah.
Yay.
Any final femdommy thoughts? I feel you've gone on a bit of a journey this episode.
I have.
Yeah.
I've grown a lot in my understanding the umbrella. The umbrella is a wide umbrella.
It is.
And I think I was going for my personal notes on it of what I knew. And I only knew, like I had described, a cliche of dominatrix or what I like, which is pay for me, stupid idiot.
Yeah.
Like, buy me dinner and then I'll sit on your face.
Yeah.
Shut up. Don't talk to
A
me.
lot of Jerry in that. Yeah.
A lot of
Jerry,
Jerry
yeah.
in that.
Yeah, and that's mostly to my, because I'm bi, but that's only to men relationships. I've been with women that I have both switched, I'm more switch hit, and I've been with men that I've both switch hit. But there are some times when I'm like, oh, this is cathartic to just not switch for a man. And just be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm fucking you up.
Doing it.
This one's for the patriarchy. So I'm sticking it to the man.
Was there anything from this episode that like
Inspired you.
inspired you for the next episode?
Yeah.
What?
What do you want to talk about next episode?
I don't know I don't know if there's got to be a term for it, but I'm digging into the poly stuff. I like the idea of having, because we both had talks of, like, there was cheating in yours in your first story, and then there was the thruple energy. I could go into that. Are we talking about a new subject or still under femdom?
No, for the next episode.
For the next episode. So
Yeah.
you want to do thruple?
Or like, yeah, like bringing a new, or let's do cucks. That like the cool cuck,
Ooh.
like because you were talking about cuck holding. You were like, wait, I don't get, you know how we
Yeah,
talked earlier
yes.
about our own take on it. I would like to see what you bring to the table with cuck holding, because I'm into that a little bit.
Cuckolding.
But not necessarily in the cliche way of like humiliate this politician. It doesn't have to be as much humiliation, but like the cuckolding like that, like the casual cuckolding.
You want an element of cuckolding.
Yeah.
But maybe within a loving thruple relationship.
yeah, or in like a relationship
There
status.
are
You can't.
different versions of cuckolding too.
That's
which
what I
we'll-
was gonna
We'll
say.
get into next
Keep
episode.
the umbrella
But
wide.
Keep the umbrella
so
wide.
that you don't have to worry. As long as it like, to me, it is the element of humiliation, but it doesn't have to be I'm making him bark like a dog
Yeah.
in
I
front
also-
of my boss.
Can I just point out that you opened your intro by being like, I'm not really into dark shit. And so
wasn't.
far we've had
Yeah.
praise kink, femdom,
Femdom.
and cuckolding. So
Don't lie to yourself
So-
anymore, Julie. Hey, Jessica.
Hey, Emily.
When?
What am I reading? I don't even remember what I'm reading. Hold on. I'm reading a Roman and Jerry the fanfic
Nice.
called Stupid Little Lovesick Puppy. And it is very similar to this one where it's kind of like running parallel to the show, but being like, what if Roman hadn't fucked it up? But like each chapter is an episode of the show, but it's Roman and Jerry's shenanigans behind the scenes during that episode.
We're the main characters. That's fun.
Yeah, so I'm very much enjoying it. It's by I can't even read it. MVSIC_BXXKS_STVDY. So
Catchy.
yeah, very catchy.
Music book study? What was it?
Yeah, so it's very fun. I've read it a couple of times. It's kind of a comfort one for me that I found and was like, oh yeah, I'll reread this while I was researching.
Nice.
Emily,
Yeah?
what are you reading?
I'm reading. I've been kind of in a slump. So I was like, it's finally time to tackle some of my physical DBR. So I'm reading Percy Jackson and the Chalice of the Gods. It's the new Percy Jackson story.
You
and I
love
Percy
Percy
Jackson
Jackson so much. My
So
God.
that's what I'm reading. And I just started today. I'm on like chapter 4. So
Is it fun?
it's so fun.
Is it bringing? Yeah, I was gonna say if it's a fan favorite,
It
is
must be
bringing you
nice
the
to
joy?
like go back into the world.
It is so
Because this
nice.
is of a series.
Yes, and now he's in like he's finishing up high school, going to college. So it's like he still's got to do some quests to get into college. It's so fun, and I love Percy Jackson.
Did he ever steal the lightning? No.
He was not the lightning thief. He caught the lightning thief. Let me tell you. Hey Julie.
Hey, Julie.
The back of the shampoo bottle. I'm reading a whole lot of nothing these days. I started reading Angela Davis's women and race intersection.
Yeah,
book or
Angela
whatever.
Davis, like the inventor of the term intersectionality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like one of her classic 70s books about women and race. But I
I read that in college for my
brag.
major.
I have never read it, and I've heard great things, and a bunch of people were referring to it for my podcast, and I finally found it in one of those like cheap book bin type things for a couple bucks, and I had it on my little nightstand. And the other day I was like, let's bust in. Got real sucked in. She is such a prophetic writer.
She's wonderful.
That's been my and I've obviously like been reading with that with my lens on that.
Yeah,
knowing,
yeah.
Like, this was written a long time ago. This is different, and I'm proud of myself for already knowing these things. But I am finding that I had a little bit of that judgment where I'm like, oh, I'm glad that this if I would have read it at a younger age, it would have been mind blowing.
Right.
Right. Like just because I know this stuff and have been taught this stuff, it is something that you're like, it's not a novel idea because we've all lived it, but it is because you don't examine it. But that's it. I haven't been reading for fun other than stuff for the podcast. I feel like I want to though. I need
you
to.
can read for fun.
Am I loud?
We'll
Yeah,
throw you
of
some
course
stuff.
you
if
can.
you want.
Okay.
You let us know what you want.
We
We'll
got
tell
things.
you.
We got
we
things.
got shit.
I'll
Tell
give it
me
to
I
you
won't.
It's a nice reverse psychology there.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think we did
the damn thing.
We'll see the people back here for cuckolding.
Cuckolding.
Another light, fluffy
Light,
topic
fluffy
for
cuckolding.
Julie.
Super soft, super casual.
Super
listening.
soft,
So
Julie.
cash, so cash.
All right. Well, we're just a couple of raccoons.
Talking about the best
trash
of the trash in the
town.
town. Bye.
Got cold.
Femmes Reading Filth is hosted, produced, and edited by Emily Barusian and Jessica Mall. Intro music by Tom Lehrer. Outro music by David Reddick. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Femmes Reading Filth. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.